Am I the a-hole for telling my mum if she wants to plan a wedding to get remarried? I, 32 female, recently started planning my wedding with my fiancé, 31 female, and my mum immediately jumped to help us plan. I thought at first it'd be okay, but she'll call vendors and venues she likes, will give them my information so they call me about a scheduled time, and my mum swoops in to say, it'd be rude not to go since they invited you. It was obvious it was her after the third time when she wouldn't stop giggling and admitted to calling beforehand and making appointments. I wouldn't take issue with this, but my mum and I have wildly different tastes. Every time me or my fiancé tell her something like how we want to have this colour for the tablecloths or these flowers, she'll tell us that they look bad and will give us her own plan. She recently showed us a massive binder of different ideas she wants us to look through. It's exhausting. At every step she will insist on looking at her ideas, and when we reject them she'll throw a fit and tell me I don't love her because I ignore all her wishes. I also want to add, I think she's had it in her head since I was a kid she'd plan my wedding. Even before I came out and dated men, she'd comment about how excited she was for the wedding, and when I told her my fiancé proposed, she immediately started berating me about when we'd have the wedding so she could help us plan it. Part of it is that when she married my dad it was a small courthouse affair because she was pregnant with me at the time and never got a proper wedding. My dad also died 17 years ago, and she dates sporadically but never for longer than a few months. The last time me and my fiancé went to see a venue, she tagged along and made all these comments on how gross everything was, pointing out all the tiny things wrong with it all. The person showing us was getting annoyed, my fiancé was getting annoyed, and so was I. She eventually said if this were my wedding I'd never even consider this dump, despite it being absolutely beautiful and within the budget. I snapped and told her that if she wanted to plan a wedding so badly, she could get remarried. It was cruel, but I was so tired of her trying to have her perfect wedding through me. My fiancé thinks I'm not at fault, but the rest of my family doesn't. Am I the a-hole? Edit. Adding answers to a couple common questions. Is she paying for the wedding? No, she's not paying a penny. Why don't you set boundaries with her? We have. She doesn't listen and will cry and guilt me and my fiancé until we go along with her or look at what she's picked out for us. This sounds like the classic case of the over-involved mum. Let's look at the comments. Put her on a very strict info diet and set up passwords with all your vendors so that she can't call pretending to be you. Not the a-hole. Cut that off. Tell her she is not welcome to come to any viewings. She is allowed to send you one email per week with her suggestions, but that is it. And that if she calls and makes appointments for you anywhere else, she is no longer invited to the wedding. For the rest of the family who are taking her side, tell them she is being unreasonable and they are welcome to get her help planning a party of their own. Not the a-hole. Clearly establish the line for your mum. Step back from dealing with her whenever she crosses the line. This is my wedding, mum. The decision is mine and my fiancé's. Yeah, I feel like I see this kind of story all the time. All Opie needs to do is set clear boundaries with the mum and eventually they usually get over it. Alright, let's jump to the first update. Hello everyone. I took all of the advice to heart and me and my fiancé had a sit down and looked at the comments together and we agreed we both need to grow spines. Our wedding planner is truly a saint and had no problem setting up passwords with vendors like some people suggested, and it was a great suggestion, so thank you. We then invited my mum to dinner and told her that she has to stop trying to help us with the wedding. It started off cool. She brought her binder and had her own wedding dress in her car. Her dress is in very bad condition, would not fit either me or my fiancé, and is quite frankly hideous. I would never say that to her face, though I've told her every time she's asked that I want to pick out my own dress, and she should keep hers for if she wants to get remarried. She assumed that we had invited her to apologise and let her plan the wedding however she wanted. How she jumped to that conclusion, I have no idea. We lied about not wanting her to get overly stressed in the hope she'd take it better, then telling her that she's been causing problems and that she hasn't been helpful. She didn't take it well and started crying, and saying all she ever wanted was for me to have the perfect wedding, and she'd already given up getting the perfect son-in-law and grandchildren, so at the least we could let her plan the wedding. It stunned us both, as she's never said a bad word about me liking women. Not when I came out, not when I got my first girlfriend, not when me and my fiancé got engaged. That put me over the edge, and I told her that she wasn't going to plan anything. She was a guest and nothing more, and I would be cutting her speech if she was going to behave like a child. She had a full-on tantrum, so me and my fiancé paid and left her to cry and scream in the restaurant. That was all fine and dandy, until our florist called to tell us my mum had called to try to get the flower arrangements changed behind our back. I called her and she tried to lie, until she realised she was backed into a corner and admitted to doing it because she knew what was best and was trying to help. Needless to say that I've now uninvited her from the wedding, with the full support of my fiancé and my soon-to-be mother-in-law and father-in-law. Okay, now for a couple more comments. Oofta. Also, does she not know that same-gender couples can have kids? OP replies, she's well aware, but apparently it wouldn't count if we adopted or my fiancé carried the child, because biologically it wouldn't be her grandchild. I can't carry a child because of health complications, and me and my fiancé have agreed that if we ever do have kids, it won't be for at least a few years, which isn't good enough for her. She wants us to pop out grandbabies for her yesterday. Maybe point out then that even if you were straight, it would be biologically yours because of health reasons. Surely she'd be able to understand that. OP says, she's gotten it in her head if I was straight, I wouldn't have health issues and that I should just try harder to have a child. All reasoning falls on deaf ears, unfortunately. Yeah, so when you set boundaries with a mum like this, I find it goes two ways. One, they cry a little bit and then get over it and leave them alone. And two, they do what this mum's doing and kind of cause a huge fuss and make a huge drama out of it all. Let's jump to our next update. I'm so done. Just so done with her. 3 months of hell, but finally me and my wife are happily married. Not once did my mum think of me and what I wanted. She wouldn't stop trying to call vendors, get things changed, and try to guess the passwords. At one point we changed the passwords every week to random things so that she couldn't guess them. We didn't post the date anywhere and had on the invitations that the guests couldn't share the date and location, yet somehow she got both. We even told her that the stress was too much and we were going to wait until the summer or later to get married, and she screamed at us, telling us that we were horrible and cancelling it to spite her. We blocked her phone number, reduced the wedding budget significantly so we could hire good security. Thank frickin' God we did and gave them pictures of her, because somehow she found out the date, time and location and came in her mother effing wedding dress and demanded to be let in because it was her wedding. I am beyond done. I'm typing this as me and my wife are waiting to get on our plane to go home after an incredible honeymoon. We even looked at job openings in apartments that are at least 6 hours away from where we currently live, because my loving mother has taken to sending us letters calling me a horrible daughter and sending packages that are piles of pictures from when I was a kid and I loved her unconditionally, with notes asking why I don't love her anymore and why I banned her from her wedding, how excited she was for it, how it was her right as my mum to go. She tried to guilt me, she cursed me out, and what? Thought I'd give up? Let her do whatever she wants and run my life for me? And act as if she's not been a pain in my butt since I told her that me and my wife were beginning to plan the wedding. My best friend who was house sitting got the honour of opening them all and sending us the contents. She hand-delivered the first one the day after the wedding while we were on the plane. I know because the Ring doorbell caught it, and all of the other ones she delivered as well as the ones the mailman delivered. I'm fuming, I'm ticked, and I want to scream because what the F? She tried to ruin my wedding. My own mother tried to ruin my wedding and is trying to make me feel bad. She tried to plan my wedding for me, threw a tantrum when I asked her not to, tried to sabotage it and then crashed it. But sure, I'm the problem here. Holy moly, it's escalating even more. More comments. OP, match a state to a guest and tell them you're moving there. When mother comes back stating she knows where you're moving, you have your FM. OP replies, we're considering doing something like that. Part of replanning the wedding was figuring out who wouldn't tell her about the wedding, so very few family members on my side and friends who know about all the chaos she's caused. But someone's still told, so we'll be finding out who and cutting them out of our lives along with my mum. Someone comments, and no excuses for the people who say, but she's family. OP replies, that is the rest of my family, so I'm very used to it and very ready to leave every one of them in the dust, bar a few cousins. Another comment says, I remember your older posts. I really hoped it would be different. Unfortunately, she is too unhinged. Just call the cops every time she shows up to your home. Put your phone on record every time you leave work or your house to get her on tape and get a restraining order. I'm so sorry. OP says, we'll definitely be getting a restraining order and will not be telling anyone where we're moving until we figure out who told her about the wedding. OP, I'm so sorry to read this and I'm fuming for you. It's a shame that parents feel entitled to their children. What a flaming narcissist she is. OP replies, I swear she gets more narcissistic every day, ever since she went mask off and told me that she's given up getting a son-in-law and grandchildren because I came out to her and started dating women. Has she always been this unstable and possessive? Those are the two words that immediately come to mind. Irrational is another. There's something going on in her head that made your wedding a DEFCON 1 level threat. Opie replies, "Not really. When I was younger and my dad was around, she was very calm. But after he died and I started dating, the wedding comments started and they increased as I got older, and eventually became this absolute cluster F of a situation. She never had her dream wedding, so she got it in her head she'd plan mine for whatever reason, and wasn't happy when I wanted to plan my own wedding." Okay, let's jump to the last update for this story. So, I found out who told my mum where and when the wedding was. There was no grand plan. We'd wanted to do that after getting a little more settled into our new lives. I went back recently for work and invited one of my cousins out to lunch, picking somewhere my mum wouldn't go to so that there'd be no accidental run-ins. Me and this cousin are really close. We're similar in age and she was one of the bridesmaids. She's like a sister to me. She's also the most timid, shy, non-confrontational person ever. Big red flag, I know. So we went out to lunch, and who showed up? My mother. She showed up and was all like, "Oh, hi, I didn't know you were in town. Why didn't you call me? Lovely day we're having. How's wife, mother-in-law and father-in-law? Have you two started talking about kids yet?" She was being civil. I wish she'd screamed and cried so I could have looked like the same one. My cousin wouldn't look at me. Not only did she tell my mum that we'd be going out to lunch, but she told my mum about the wedding. She tells me that her mum, my aunt, and my mum pressured her into it, since they knew she'd know if the wedding was actually pushed back. And she told them. She told them despite knowing how crazy my mum is, and how much crazier she'd become. I'm not even angry, I just feel betrayed and so happy that me and my wife didn't tell anyone where we were moving, so my mum couldn't show up at our door. I've had to cut off my cousin, the girl I saw as my sister, because she couldn't keep her frickin' mouth shut despite knowing, and I can't reiterate this enough, every detail about how my mum was when she was helping us plan the wedding. I'm cutting contact with my entire family. It's not worth it. If you let in a little crazy, they'll let in the rest of the crazy. Alrighty folks, so that's the end of that one. Let me know what you think. To be honest, I think it's a bit harsh cutting off the cousin like that and all the rest of the family. I mean, Opie said it herself, like, the cousin was non-confrontational. It sounds like the mum and the aunt probably bullied her into giving them an answer. Like, I can't help but feel a little bit sorry for that cousin. Either way, it sounds like Opie's made up her mind, and that's that. Let me know what you guys think about this one in the comments, and we'll jump to our next story. Alrighty, our next one was posted on the same subreddit. It was written by user Don't Like Children, Am I the A-hole? And it's titled, Am I the A-hole for not taking care of my cousin's toddler? I, 20 female, went upstate to visit my extended family recently. Grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins. This includes my cousin, who had a baby about 3.5 years ago. My cousin will be named Carol, and the baby will be named Lily for this post. I don't like children, never have, and possibly never will. My whole family knows this, so I haven't really spent the most time with Lily when I visited. Surprisingly, she wasn't too bad the last few times I visited her, and Carol, along with my other family. However, this time Lily was an absolute hellspawn, screaming, crying, throwing tantrums along with things across the room. We were staying in the same house, so I heard it every day for a few days. I distanced myself from Carol and Lily as much as possible, other than the time I got mad at Carol and a bit at Lily when Lily was throwing a tantrum about something and threw my phone to the floor, cracking the corner of the screen. Carol said I was overreacting. Yesterday, I was watching television in the living room when Carol came in the room carrying Lily, who was fussing. She asked me to watch her for the day because she needed a break, but I wasn't so sure. As I said, I don't like kids in the first place, but I'm also not sure I could take care of one, especially one as bad as Lily. I explained this to Carol and she insisted I take care of Lily. I asked if anybody else can take Lily because I won't, and she told me everyone else was out shopping, and how I don't know how hard it is to be a mother and the least I can do is help out. I told her I understand how she's struggling, but reinstated my doubts on taking care of another human being. Carol called me heartless and stormed out of the room to go and take care of Lily herself. A little over 15 minutes later, everyone returned. Carol, of course, told them what I did, and everyone was being cold to me for the rest of the day. This morning, I left because I was getting uncomfortable with how I was being treated, and felt like I wasn't welcome because I wouldn't take care of Lily. This was met with sad or angry comments from some, but I left anyway. I'm writing this in a hotel because now I'm having second thoughts. Was I the a-hole for not taking care of Lily? This is a tricky one because I can kind of see both sides of the argument here. On one hand, it's not great to be, forcing responsibility on someone like that. But the way Opie's kind of written this has made me feel like they're the type of person to use, I just don't like children or something like that as an excuse to get out of doing jobs or, taking on responsibilities that the rest of the family has to do. Like Opie painting this picture of her just sitting on the couch lounging around watching television doesn't exactly paint her in the best picture of someone who's not lazy, And also the way the family reacted kind of makes me feel like, yeah, maybe Opie is being a bit lazy. They're all thinking of her as someone trying to get out of, family responsibilities that everyone else is doing. Either way, like I said, I can see both sides here. Let's see what the comments think. Not the a-hole. Asking someone with no child minding experience to mind a child for an entire day on the spur of the moment is not reasonable, barring genuine emergencies. I have a child a little bit older than Lily, and I would never have someone watch him that wasn't enthusiastic about it. Like, go, my divine undertaking, flesh of my flesh, blood of my blood. Go to that person who hates you and be at their unsupervised mercy for hours. Bro, you know they're not going to be cutting the crusts off. Not the a-hole. Frankly, it's irresponsible of a parent to shove an unwitting person into that situation, especially if your aversion to kids is known throughout the family. One would assume you probably wouldn't have had a lot of experience with babies or toddlers and wouldn't really know how to care for one. It's like Carol thought, who is the most ill-equipped person to care for my womb nugget? OP, yes, she'll do. My only babysitting requirements are a set of breasts and a liability waiting to happen. I get it takes a village and everyone needs a break once in a while. But for someone so tired, Carol sure had the energy to start a bunch of drama. I will never understand people who claim they want kids and then act this way when it gets hard. Yeah, perhaps at the end of the day, not your kid, not your problem, right? Let's jump to the update. Hi all, thank you for your kind words. About a day after I got home, Carol sent me a text saying she apologises for how she acted. She told me in the text how she's been feeling bad about the situation since I left. She acted out of bounds, was stressed but shouldn't have taken it out on me, and sorry she exaggerated the story to our family members. She finally asked if I would come back up north to come chat with her about it, along with the rest of the family. I declined because I had work and couldn't make the round trip, so we talked on the phone. She kept profusely apologising for how she acted and was trying to make amends. I was honestly shocked but grateful. We made arrangements for a few months from now to meet up in person. On the more negative side, I haven't heard from the rest of the family as I'm writing this. I'm not sure if they're still mad, just ignoring me, or some other reason. I think it might be the latter, as I asked Carol about it and she's not even sure. Whatever it is, I hope they talk to me soon. Again, thank you. Well, so there you go, the cousin apologised ultimately. Yeah, to be honest, it probably wasn't too big of an ask until the cousin said for the day. Like, the day is a bit long, like that includes, changing nappies and stuff, I'd imagine. Watching is one thing, but doing all that extra stuff is another. Also, yeah, I'd imagine Opie would be pretty ticked off about the whole phone thing. I know I would be too. Let me know what you guys think about that one in the comments and we'll jump to our last story for today. We'll stick with the same subreddit. This one was posted by user ComplexEagle5873 and it's titled, Am I the a-hole for ignoring my soon-to-be stepmom when she kept calling me by the wrong name? So my, female 16, name is Andy. Just Andy. My mum's dad passed away just a few days before she found out she was pregnant. My mum was very close with her dad, and his name was Andrew, also went by Andy. The technical female version of Andrew is Andrea, but neither my mum nor dad liked the name, but my mum wanted to honour her dad in some way, so I got named Andy, which I love my name, I think it fits me. My parents got divorced when I was 8 and I live with my mum most of the time, but visit my dad every other weekend, as well as holidays. 3 years ago, my dad started dating his now fiancée, Kate. Kate, for some reason when we met, assumed my name was Andrea. I explained to her it was just Andy. She kept calling me Andrea though. I ended up telling my mum about it and she told me to just ignore Kate until she calls me Andy. Well, this past weekend I was at my dad's and we were visiting some of Kate's family. Well, she kept calling over for Andrea and of course I ignored her. She got mad and said why am I ignoring her? And I said, because that's not my name, and you know this. Her dad and brother basically laughed, saying they thought I just went by Andy as a nickname, and I said no, it's just Andy. They then asked Kate why she's been calling me Andrea then. Well, Kate later got mad, calling me a brat for embarrassing her. She went on to say I knew who she was talking about, and that I should have just gone with it, but I was being an a-hole. I honestly kind of feel like, in that instance, I should have just answered to Andrea. But I don't know. Am I the a-hole? Alrighty folks, I'm going to throw this one over to you. Let me know in the comments. What do you think? Is Opie the a-hole or not? I still have feelings for my ex-wife. I, 28 male, used to be married to an amazing woman, 24 female. We divorced 2 years ago, and we were dating for 1 year, married for 3. She was, and still is, the love of my life, and our divorce is my biggest regret. My mother was a nightmare mother-in-law. I stupidly let her involve herself in our marriage, and mistreat my ex-wife by constantly criticizing her. I never called her to complain about my ex, or sided with her against my ex-wife, but I should have enforced strict boundaries with her as soon as I realized she was going to be a problem for us. I did go no contact with her twice during my ex-wife's miscarriages because I didn't want her to have the added stress. However, during our second miscarriage, my mother found out by reading some text off my sister's phone and went ballistic. She found out it was the second one from the text too. She turned up to our home, and instead of turning her away instantly, I took her into the living room and tried to explain things to her while my ex-wife, who was upstairs resting, was unaware of her being there. My mother pretended to calm down, but when I went into our backyard to bring the cats inside, she went upstairs and woke my ex-wife up. She screamed at her for ruining my relationship with her and made some horrible comments about her being barren. By the time I got upstairs, 5 minutes later, because the cats were not very happy with me bringing them inside, my ex-wife was in tears. I kicked my mother out immediately, but that was my ex-wife's final straw, and we split up a month later and agreed to remain friends. We acknowledged that we still had feelings for each other, but that this relationship wasn't beneficial to her anymore. We lived in the US, but my ex-wife's dad lives in the UK, so after our divorce, she went to go spend some time with him and ended up getting employed by one of his friends. I was devastated by the divorce, and I immediately went no contact with my mother and put myself into therapy. Therapy helped me understand that my relationship with my mother wasn't healthy, and I learned some good strategies to keep communication with her healthy, so I'm now low contact with her. We only speak during family events. My siblings have told me that she still doesn't see what she's done wrong, so I definitely won't be advancing beyond low contact for the foreseeable future. I've not moved on from my divorce, and I think I'm even more in love with my ex than I have been before. I've not seen anyone new, and she's constantly on my mind. During the first 6 months of my ex-wife living in the UK, we didn't speak. However, on our wedding anniversary, she sent me a text that read, "Happy Un-anniversary," insert a nickname that she used to call me, followed by, "I thought we agreed to stay friends, loser." For the rest of her first year away, we texted each other every now and then, like on my birthday, her birthday, and my brother's birthday. For my brother's birthday, she sent his present to my house, and I gave it to him for her. Before the MRAs get here, my brother is gay and they've been friends since they were children. He set us up on our first date, so I don't want any crazy DMs. During her second year away, we fell into a more typical friendship, and I told her about the therapy I had after she asked me if I had cut the umbilical cord yet. She told me about 2 men that she'd dated, and about how both relationships ended. I wasn't weird about it, but it made me think about how much I missed her, and how much I still loved her. My thoughts kept me up that night, and I couldn't stop hating myself for ruining things with her. I still have both of our wedding rings and her engagement ring. Due to recently world events, she hasn't been able to come visit anyone here in the US, but she's moving back in October. I was actually the first person she told about that. Everyone's pretty excited, and my brother is organising a homecoming party for her, and I've been invited. It's probably going to be hosted at my house, our marital home, because I'm the only person in our circle who lives alone. However, my brother asked me if I'd be hanging out with her by myself at some point. I wasn't planning on asking her to, but now that he's brought it up, it's all I can think of. They are best friends, so some part of me is thinking she might have put him up to it, just like she did when she asked him to set us up together in the first place. I asked my sister for her input, but she said that I shouldn't ask her to meet up with me, and I should wait for her to ask if she wants to. I think she might still have feelings for me, because when she was telling me about one of her breakups, she said, "None of those men over here can handle me like you can," but her humour is generally flirtatious, so I can't be sure. I would love an outside perspective on this. Would asking her out be the right thing to do? Thanks for reading. Gee, I don't know what you guys think, but I reckon the ex is giving all the signs that she's willing to give him another chance. Let's look at the comments. Bro, she asked if you cut the umbilical cord. That's literally what she was waiting for. I think this is going to go well for you. I can't wait for the update. OP, all these signs honestly point to her still wanting to give you a chance. And worst case scenario, she doesn't feel the same. So you're either without her, without trying to get her back, or without her knowing you did everything possible to get her back. I don't know, man, it's worth the risk in my eyes. Life's too short. Tell her you're very low contact with your mum, you're in therapy, and you'd love to take her on a date. Pursue her again, woo her again, date her again. Remind her how important she is to you, and help her fall in love with you again. She clearly still loves you, even if it's not in love. Maybe ask your therapist the best way to give a full, well-grounded apology. I'm sure your therapist knows the full situation, so they should be able to help you structure something. Maybe even write it out in a letter, and when you have a second alone, read her the letter out loud. Just say, I didn't want to get anything wrong or leave anything out. Just try. Don't live with more regret. You should ask her. Don't wait for her to bring up anything. But be very clear about how things will be different this time. Don't just go to her and ask. Make sure you have a plan about how you have solved your mother problem and how she won't have to be harassed in the future. I would also implore you to be cautious and think about all the possibilities. There may be a possibility that she doesn't want to get back with you, or even that maybe she met someone else in the UK. Please mentally prepare yourself for that too. I wish you all the best. Please update us. Okay, now on to a myriad of edits and updates. Mini update. Y'all have convinced me to ask her now instead of waiting for October. It's late in the UK right now, but I will call her tomorrow. Thanks for all of the encouragement. Edit 1. I wanted to clarify what I meant by low contact, since I know everyone has a different interpretation of it. The low contact I have is only saying happy birthday to each other in the family group chat. We're never the first to say it to each other, and the conversation doesn't advance beyond that point. Whenever she comes up to me at family events, which isn't often anymore, she usually asks how I am and for updates on my life. I give her one-worded answers and grey rock the rest. My therapist calls this method civil no contact, which I think is more accurate. She freaked out about no contact when my ex-wife first left and regularly blew up my phone. Low contact has been more peaceful. I'm aware this will change if my ex-wife and I get back together, and I'll be working with my therapist to create a plan for every possibility. I plan on returning to no contact after the phone call tomorrow, and I want to make it as safe and peaceful as possible, so if a tiny bit of conversation is what it takes, I'll do it. Edit 2. I'm logging off now, because this is making me anxious. In a good way, don't worry. Next time you'll hear from me is after our conversation. Big update. I asked if she'd like to come out to dinner with me when she's back, and she said yes. She actually asked me what took me so long to ask. She said that if I hadn't asked her before the week before her return, then she would have asked me out, so thank you guys so much for pushing me to call her. I feel like me making the first move is more meaningful, as I was the one who ruined our marriage. I'm literally on cloud 11 right now. We're going to take it slow this time. We got engaged after 6 months the first time around. I'm also going to be picking her up from the airport. Do I bring her flowers? I also spoke to her about my mum. She was aware of the civil no-contact arrangement we had, and she said she didn't mind if I kept it. But I don't want to, and I made that clear. I only tolerate my mum's presence for my siblings and their children at events, but I'm going to stop attending and celebrate important stuff with them at a different time. I'm hoping my nieces and nephews harass my siblings enough about me being missing from their birthday parties that my siblings uninvite my mum. I know I'm their favourite uncle. I apologised to her immensely, and she said she'd hang up if I apologised anymore, so I had to quit. I know this is just the beginning, and more apologies will definitely follow once we start to discuss our failed marriage, so I'm not trying to max out her apology acceptance capacity. She's also agreed to start couples counselling with me once she gets back. We also discussed the possibility of, if we do get married again, us moving to the UK. She said that she wants to stay in the town I'm currently in for the next few years, as she's missed her family and friends here a lot. Her maternal family is here, her paternal family is in the UK. But she said returning to the UK wasn't off the table completely, and I told her I'd follow her in a heartbeat. She called me a nerd, laughing my ass off. Our conversation lasted 2 hours, and she had to go because she's taking her younger siblings out. She also said that she had been asking my brother to hint to me that she wanted me back, so I was right about what he was doing. I saw a comment earlier saying that I should have just asked my brother to spill it out properly, and I wish I could convey how insanely annoying he is to you all. I'd have to hold him hostage to get him to say anything. I know we have so much more to discuss in the month before she returns, and I'm making a priority list. Psycho Mum is at the top. I told my ex I wanted to sell the house so my mum won't have my address, and I swear she wanted to reach through the screen and choke me. She loves the house, and she said I can't list it anywhere or speak to a real estate agent before she has the chance to look around again, and I'm happy to oblige my queen. I also saw some comments saying that I shouldn't send my mum that email, explaining my boundaries and consequences for her breaking them. I don't know if it was on here. And since my ex-wife doesn't want to leave this town for the near future, and given how small the town is, it's likely for my mother to run into us together and separately. I run into my mum at least once a week and we ignore each other. I would hope she would have the decency not to say anything, but she can't be trusted. I will be taking legal action if she does break our boundaries. Advice on this is appreciated. My current plan is to attempt total no contact in the month before my ex-wife returns. There are 4 family birthdays coming up, so it'll be perfect. My absence at all 4 events will definitely be noticed by her, and I can see her reaction to it. I might also ask my brother and sister to sit her down, and tell her not to bother me, and that I've decided to go total non-contact, but I'd like to know if that's a good idea. I know some of you all are mad at civil no contact, but it's kept the peace I needed for the past 2 years. However, I know everything will be different when my ex-wife is back. Thank you all so much. You're all invited to our second wedding. Edit 3. She found this post off Best of Redditor updates. She called me a total nerd. She wants me to thank you all for convincing me to call her instead of waiting for October. And she told me to call her my girlfriend instead of ex-wife, so that's what I'll be using from now on. Edit 4. I won't be making an update post tomorrow. This sub only allows one update, and I'd rather save it for when my girlfriend is back. Also, I'm fully aware that my mum is a racist. By closet racist, I mean someone who's kept it hidden effectively for so long. She's also just a frickin' weirdo in general, so there's multiple reasons for why she doesn't like my girlfriend and my brother's boyfriend, other than race. She hates my girlfriend because of her messed up family background, and for the miscarriages, in addition to race, and she hates my brother's boyfriend for being into motorbikes and smoking the green. She's incredibly absurd, so at the beginning I wasn't sure if it was racism or not, but now it's pretty obvious. My sister's boyfriend is also black. He's my girlfriend's cousin, we set them up, but he refuses to meet my mum because of how my girlfriend was treated. She's never commented on their relationship. Edit 5. I doubt y'all are still lurking here, but I just thought I'd give a mini update. After spending some time on r/justnomother-in-law and speaking with my therapist, I've decided the best course of action on re-establishing total no contact is having a lawyer contact my mother. I've made contact with a good lawyer today, and we're going to begin drafting a letter to send her. Some stuff I've seen on Just No Mother-in-Law have me worried, so I've also begun collecting evidence needed for a restraining order. I don't know how well old text and videos will work, but it's worth a shot. My girlfriend thinks I'm being too malicious. I think her time away has made her forget the worst of it, but she appreciates that I want to protect her. Judging by some of the comments, I think some of you all have assumed that we're moving in together, but we aren't. My mother does not know the address of where my girlfriend will be living. Alrighty, and now for an update posted on the Just No Mother-in-Law subreddit. Success! I posted on here a while ago asking for advice on keeping my mother away as my ex-wife, now girlfriend, is returning to the town we live in. I'll be referring to her as my girlfriend for the rest of the post. I decided the best course of action was to have a lawyer contact her. The lawyer sent her a simple letter explaining that he was a lawyer sent to tell her to stay away from me and that I would take legal action if she didn't. The lawyer said he could get into trouble if he didn't give a reason as to why he was sending it, so it briefly mentioned that I'd gotten into a romantic relationship and I didn't want her involved because of what she did before. He didn't say that I had gotten back with my ex-wife. It started a whole fight with my parents and older siblings, and my dad actually turned up to my house to argue with me. He went on and on about how hurt my mother had been for the 2 years that I'd been almost no contact with her. No mention of what she had done to me and my girlfriend. I like my dad, but he's a complete pushover. He does whatever my mother wants him to. I didn't tell him that I'd gotten back with my girlfriend, but I told him flatly that my mother's insane behaviour during my marriage meant that I wanted nothing to do with her now. He went with the classic, "She's your mother and she loves you, and you're really hurting her" argument, but I didn't back down. I said that because the town we live in is so small, and I already run into her weekly, there's an extremely high chance that I'd run into her while I'm with my girlfriend, and I didn't want her to go bat-crap insane, so getting a lawyer to warn her was the best course of action. I told him that the ball was in her court. If she continued to respect my no contact, then this wouldn't have to go further, and we can all live peaceful lives. My dad eventually ended up agreeing with me, and after I told him to never turn up unannounced again, he left and promised to explain this all to my mother, basically telling her that if she behaved, I wouldn't sue. My older sisters have all called me to call me every bad name in the book, but I sent them all the same text, telling them to mind their own business, and the harassment stopped. It's been a day since all that happened, and my father said my mother agreed to leave me alone. I know I can't take her word for it, but it's a start, as last time I tried to establish no contact she went insane. I've spoken to a realtor to get my house on the market sometime mid-October. I want to sell it ASAP, but my girlfriend wants to have a look around before I do, so that's why I'm waiting. I'll be moving to a neighbouring town, so I'll still be able to keep my job and see my friends and decent family. I won't be attending family events where my mother is at anymore. It's going to be sad missing my nieces and nephews' birthdays, but I'll just swing by at a different time to give them their presents. So far so good. It's been a tentative success. Still a month before my girlfriend is back, so I've got time to deal with any problems that arise before her arrival. On my last post, I think some people assumed that my girlfriend would be moving in with me, but that's not the case. My mother doesn't know the address of where she'll be staying. Here's to more successes. Wow, good on OP for setting firm boundaries with his mother like that and sticking by them. I can't imagine it would be an easy thing to do, especially to your own mother, which is probably why he's getting so much backlash from his family. Completely going no contact with your mother is a really serious and full-on thing to do, so you have to have your mind completely made up at that point. But yeah, even though Opie didn't really elaborate on what the mother did during the marriage, there was some nasty things that he wrote, but all in all, I don't really think we got the full picture. So something like this might seem drastic to us reading, but I think that the ultimate outcome was warranted. Alright, let's jump to another update. Hello everyone. Sorry for keeping you all waiting. I tried to post on the relationship advice sub, but it wouldn't go up. My last post was insanely long, so this one will be definitely shortish and sweet. My girlfriend has been back for a week today, and it's been the best week of my life. I picked her up from the airport last Saturday. I brought her a gigantic daffodil bouquet, and we both cried. Seeing and hearing her again in person was so surreal because I'm so used to speaking to her over video calls. Her accent has gotten more British now, and it's so cute. The drive back to our town was so difficult because I had to keep my eyes on the road, but I wanted to look at her the entire time. We had the homecoming party at my home, our old marital home, on Sunday, and it was amazing. It felt just like old times when we were still married, and we hosted our friends. She stayed to help me clean up with my brother, and unfortunately her older brother too, who does not like me. She wanted to come over and have a look at my house before I put it on the market, and we did that on Tuesday. It was extremely emotional and we both ended up crying, especially when we got to the master bedroom. When she left, I moved my things into another bedroom, and basically locked up our old shared bedroom and forgot about it. I went in about once a month to clean it, but other than that, it stayed locked. Our old rings, a few things that she'd left behind, and some things that were too painful for me to look at were in there, like framed photos we had together. She ended up taking her old wedding and engagement rings to wear on a necklace, which was really touching actually because I thought she wanted to completely forget our previous relationship and start fresh. I'm happy to know that she looks back on our past together fondly, despite it being a hot mess. Yes, if we do get married again, I will 100% be buying new rings. We've hired a counsellor so we can work through our relationship, and our first appointment is next week, so wish us luck. I have an appointment to get the house valued next week too, so I can sell it ASAP. My girlfriend is currently staying with a family member, and she's apartment hunting, so we also have some appointments next week to look at places for her, so the coming week is pretty jam-packed for us. We won't be living together for a while, so we can take this slower than last time. Last time we got engaged after 6 months, and married 6 months later. During the week she's been back, we've been together for a few hours, except when I'm working, every single day, apart from Wednesday. I know some of you guys will probably be wondering about my mother, and I have good news about her. We live in a small town, so it was 100% likely that my girlfriend would have ran into my mother within her first week back. She ran into her on Wednesday, and my mother did not do anything. My girlfriend was out with her younger sister at Starbucks, and my mother noticed my girlfriend, and then turned around and got on with whatever she was doing like a normal person. I will never be open to re-establishing communication with my mother, but it actually looks like she's learned her lesson after 2 years of very low contact. Unfortunately, my lawyer said I probably wouldn't get a restraining order against my mother, so I'm seriously hoping she continues to be good. According to my siblings and father, she didn't even tell them that she'd seen my girlfriend. I have to clarify here that she does not know that we're back together, and I'm hoping to move to the next town over to keep it that way. Once again, thank you all for your support and encouragement. I will be eternally grateful that you guys convinced me to ask her out back then, instead of waiting for now, and she wants me to thank you all too. Y'all are awesome. And now one last comment that says, we moved in together. My girlfriend couldn't find an apartment she liked, and we decided to live together again. Other than that, no more developments. Alright guys, so that's the end of that story. Let me know what you think in the comments. All in all, a good ending. Great to hear that Opie's willing to work out his relationship again with his ex. And yeah, I think starting fresh sounds like a good idea for them. It's great to hear stories like this. It gives you hope that even if the relationship initially ended badly, it can still be worked out, and you still never really lose those feelings for some people. Am I the a-hole for telling my daughter to get over what happened in the past? I am new on Reddit, so for some background and context, I, 54 female, have one daughter, Ella, 28 female, with my ex Dylan, 57 male. Dylan and I amicably divorced when Ella was only 4 years old. A few years later, I married my now husband, Jack, 55 male. He was a single dad of 2 kids, Jason, 25 male, and Sophie, 27 female. Jack and I also have a daughter, Bella, 17 female. This is about Sophie and Ella. I always thought since they were closer to the age they would get along really well, and I was right. They were like best friends and we were really happy in our blended family. When Ella was in college, she met this guy, Brian, 30 male, at a cafe where she worked. They started dating. I was happy for Ella. Brian proposed to Ella in front of our whole family and it was very romantic. Everything was fine until one day, Ella came to our house screaming at Sophie. She claims that Sophie has been sleeping with Brian. I told her she must be joking. Sophie would never do that to her. There was a lot of screaming until Sophie finally said that she and Brian are in love. This caused more commotion. We did have an extremely hard conversation with Sophie. She showed her remorse and was very guilty. We tried to talk to Ella, that Sophie was sad and maybe she should forgive her. But Ella was having none. She went on to more screaming and bashing all of us that we are abandoning her and picking Sophie. That is not the case. I tried to make it as peaceful as possible, but Ella didn't want that. When Ella and Brian broke up, he started dating Sophie. They got engaged within a year. Sophie wanted Ella to be her bridesmaid, but Ella just said, "Over my dead body." I thought it was really cruel of her to say that, and she's being petty by holding on to the past anger. Needless to say, she didn't come to the wedding. Rather, she left the city to live with her father. She didn't contact us much except for Bella. I thought she might need some time to cool off, but I was hurt that she kept us out of her life. We only got some insights from Bella and Jason. She only sends me cards on my birthday but hardly ever spoke to me. I think it was unfair. One day she came to our place. Sophie and Brian were also there. She gave us an invitation card to her wedding with someone named Ray. I don't know much about him. She didn't even include us in the wedding party. Plus the venue was a 4-hour drive, and the hotels in that area are expensive. We did agree, but at the last moment Jack got sick and I had to cancel it. When I told her the reason I cannot come to her wedding, she told me not to bother. She made the right choice by not including me in her wedding. She knew I was a bad mum and it really bothered me. I always wanted to be by her side, but the place and time she was getting married was not compatible for us. That was 2 years ago. She never contacted us again. A few weeks ago, my daughter Bella showed me a post on Instagram that Ella was pregnant. She posed with her stepmother with a caption like, "She will be a good grandmother." I was furious. How can she forget her whole family here? So I called her from Bella's phone and wanted an explanation. She replied that since I never bothered to be at her wedding, I don't deserve to be in her kid's life. She said it's not just her wedding. She claims I've never been supportive of her, that I do not care about her. She went on blabbing that she never felt like she had my support, even when she got cheated on and I chose my stepdaughter over her. I told her it was not fair for her to hold that against me till now, because it was 6 years ago. She has moved on and Sophie has moved on as well. She is being petty by holding on to something that happened years ago. So, did I do anything wrong? Edit. Look, I did not abandon Ella. I tried to be there for her. When she and Brian broke up, I went to her place to support her almost every day. I just think it's silly to hold on to something that happened years ago. I get that she didn't want to be a bridesmaid, but she could have attended the wedding. I never pressured her. Yes, I was disappointed, but if she'd politely declined, I would have never thought it was cruel. And I tried my best to attend her wedding. We booked the hotel too, but Jack got really sick. We did apologize and promised to make it up to her in some way, but she rejected it. Let's look at the comments. Couldn't go because Jack was sick? You could have still gone. You're the a-hole. Let her live her life and be happy. Opie replies, Jack was sick. He couldn't walk properly because he became weak. I would have gone if I could. I sent a gift and told her we'll make it up to her. It's not like I intentionally didn't go. I was devastated because of it. You're the a-hole. This has to be fake. No one, absolutely no one is this clueless and this horrible of a parent. You chose a stepdaughter over your blood daughter. She didn't forget her family. You abandoned her. Not even worth much more comment as this has to be a troll. OP replies, For the last time, I did not abandon her. She cut off contact with us. And no, I did not choose her over my stepdaughter. I love both of them equally. If I was in Ella's place, I would have at least attended the wedding, and not leave the town without any short notice. I get that she didn't want to be a bridesmaid, but at least she could have gone to the wedding. You're the a-hole. What Sophie did to Ella was not petty or inconsequential. You shouldn't have supported and forgiven Sophie so easily after her act of betrayal. You're lucky Ella ever kept in touch with you at all. How can you even ask if you're the a-hole here? It's pretty obvious and your daughter spelled it out for you. And I think calling you an a-hole is putting it kindly. You did choose the cheater side over your firstborn child's, who was the person hurt in the situation. Then fairly quickly, you tell her to get over it. This wasn't some puppy love high school situation. They were engaged to be married, and your a-hole of a stepdaughter slept with her stepsister's fiancé. This is some Jerry Springer or Jeremy Kyle crap. Then you accepted the scumbag who cheated on her into your home and supported he and your stepdaughter's relationship. Your emotionally tone-deaf stepdaughter asked her to be a bridesmaid at her and her ex's wedding, which should have been hers in the first place if they weren't such jerks. And you think you have the right to be offended on her, saying, over her dead body? Let's say your sister screwed your husband and everyone took her side. How would you react? Your daughter, rightfully, went low or no contact for her own emotional and mental health, offers you an olive branch to attend her wedding, and your husband gets, quote-unquote, sick, unspecified kind of sick might I add, which means likely it wasn't life-threatening or requiring hospitalization. You were butthurt of not being involved in the wedding party, so you decide to skip her wedding and olive branch over ego. You find out after years of no contact she's pregnant, and think you have a right to be involved after all that, after you've repetitively put everyone else above your own child in every way. You're not only a jerk, but delusional, and dare I say a narcissist. I hope she sticks to her guns and stays away from you. Kudos to her for knowing she's worth so much more than the bullcrap you're parading. Why is everyone's feelings, including your own, more important than hers? Jerk. Yeah, I don't think I have anything more to add to that. Let's go to the update. Hi guys, this is Bella, 17 female, the half-sister of Ella. So basically I'm writing this to update to clear things out. Basically this whole argument with Ella being pregnant happened 2 months ago. There've been fights and crying from my mum's part. I tried my best to explain to her that what she did was over the line, and she cannot expect Ella to be okay with it after she hurt her. My mum still insists Ella is being unfair. She thinks every other person would agree with her, lol. So I gave her just that. I've been on Reddit for 3 years. I've seen how people tear apart people like my mum, so I told her that she should post it anonymously on Reddit. I did help her in the steps to make sure she includes everything, but she still left out some parts. I challenged her that nobody thinks she is right after the crap she pulled. It was hilarious to see my mum reacting to the comments. She genuinely thought people would be on her side, haha. She read the comments for 3 hours. You guys even PM'd her and those were cherry on top. Seeing how people actually see her, she literally cried her eyes out. She is still in denial and keeps saying, they don't know anything. Well, she had a breakdown of how cruel some comments and PMs are. My dad came home and saw mum crying and scolded me for airing out dirty laundry. My mum demanded that I delete it. Instead, I deleted the Reddit app from her phone, but now I'm writing this for you guys. I must say, Reddit doesn't disappoint. I've been reading all the comments. They are entertaining. My mum refuses to look at them. She is a lost cause. But I'm here to clear things out a bit. I'm the observer of my family, so I have observed a lot of things. First of all, my mum didn't cheat with my dad as far as I know, since some of you were suggesting. The divorce with Ella's dad was amicable, but that's what I heard. My mum has this weird obsession with having twins. She always wanted twin girls, but that never happened. Since Sophie and Ella are almost the same age, my mum pretended that they are twins. I think she created this whole fantasy in her mind that Ella and Sophie will do everything together and have a matching life. Though Ella and Sophie never had bad blood, they were far from being twins. They are like normal people, but my mum still wanted the twin lifestyle for them. Also, just like you guys pointed it out, mum is the type of person who is family comes first. She wanted Ella to forgive everything and be okay with Brian and Sophie, so that she, my mum, can show it off to people that in our family we always forgive and forget, no matter how crappy the other person is. And Ella was ruining that Disney musical fantasy for my mum. My dad only cared about his biological daughters, though he was never mean to Ella and always loved her. Blood comes first to him as well. Jason pretty much doesn't give a crap. He and Sophie were not that close. Neither was Ella and him. I'm close with Ella. The only reason I showed that Insta post so that I can show Mum what Ella is doing. She always asked me about her life. I thought this would bring some form of accountability from her part, but no. As you can see, I was wrong, and I take full responsibility for it. Second thing, Mum and Dad did berate Sophie about her affair with Brian. Sophie started waterworks that she'll do anything to gain forgiveness from Ella. Sophie even said she'll cut off all contact with Brian. But Ella was having none of it. I think my parents got manipulated by the fake waterworks of Sophie. That's why they kept pushing the forgiveness on Ella. And you guys asked what happened to Jack, my dad. Well, he fell down the stairs and hurt his back. I wasn't there because I was a bridesmaid at Ella's wedding, so I spent the whole weekend there in her town. Sophie and Brian were not invited. Jason was out of town too, but I still think if Mum made an effort, she could have easily made it to the wedding. She did try to say sorry and offered to pay for their honeymoon, but I don't think that's enough. I mean, it was her daughter, for God's sake. Lastly, my mum lied. Sophie and Brian are not a happy couple, lol. They look like they're on the brink of divorce. My mum still has no idea that Brian cheated on Sophie with a stripper on his bachelor party. Sophie forgave him because it was his bachelor party, so it doesn't count. I knew that she also cheated on him at her bachelorette party too. I don't have the evidence, but I just know. A month ago, Sophie decided that she would also try for a baby. I'm willing to bet that Brian will skip town when that happens, or he might not be the father, but we shall see. Also, I'm sorry for dragging you guys to my family drama. I just wanted Mum to see that she is wrong. Even she tried to save her butt by replying, but you guys gave her a new one. I was a little skeptical about posting here because I know a lot of you guys would think this is fake and not give proper replies, and sorry if you felt deceived that someone else coerced OP to make a post, so I'm being clear once and for all. The first post was made by my mum. This update is being written by Bella, the youngest sibling. If you guys have any questions, I will try my best to answer them. Alrighty folks, so that's the end of that story. Pretty funny that the daughter actually got her mum to post that original one. And crazy to hear just how delusional the mum is. Like she genuinely thought that first post was okay and that people would side with her. It's just crazy. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about that one and we'll jump to our next story. Okay, our next one's from the same subreddit. It was written by user Jesus with his toes out and it's titled, Am I the a-hole for being a pick me and asking someone who I know dislikes me to pick me up from a party? I, 19 female, am very close with one of my housemates, Josh, 20 male. I get along with his friend group, a mix of guys and girls, and I've been assimilated into the group over the past few months. We met in September 2022. One of his friends, Michael, 20 male, doesn't like me. I don't know why. I've always been nice to him. He's always cold to me and gives one-word answers. That being said, I have his number from the group chat, but I've never texted or called him until a few days ago. I'd been invited by some co-workers to celebrate my 20th a bit early, and I agreed. We went to a bar, did karaoke, the whole shebang. But at around midnight, things got a little stale, and one of my co-workers said her friend had weed, so we all went to this guy's house. Long story short, I felt very uncomfortable and pressured, and after having a panic attack in the bathroom, I called Josh. He didn't pick up. I called another friend, but she didn't answer either, so as a last-ditch effort, I called Michael. He picked up, and I asked him if he could come get me. I'd pay for petrol and a thank you fee, or whatever, I didn't care. I just needed to get out. He picked me up. He ended up crashing on the couch, and the next morning, I gave him petrol money. I apologized profusely. He said not to worry. The issue is that the girls in the friend group are now calling me a pick-me and saying I put myself in the situation as an excuse to get Michael in my life, as it upsets me that he didn't like me. As a side note, I was more confused about why he doesn't like me. I was never upset. I said that those three are the only ones who can drive in the group, and since the other two didn't answer, he was my last resort. The girls said it was a jerk thing to do anyway, and that using real-life fears to shoehorn my way into Michael's life is psychotic. Am I the a-hole? Edit. To everyone asking why I didn't use Uber, we don't have it in my city. There's a whole app specific to it. However, we were technically in another town, which I didn't realise until I went on the app. I had to download a whole new app and prices were insane. It was much cheaper to pay a friend back for petrol. I don't think this mattered, but here you guys go. Okay, let's look at the comments. Not the a-hole, but the other girls sound like jerks. Most of us get stuck in situations we don't want to be in at one point or another. Nothing wrong with calling someone for help. It was nice of him to do that. Maybe he never disliked you and you just read it wrong. Not the a-hole. You called other people first. Sort of negates the whole idea of targeting him for your nefarious plot. Also, tell your friends that's not what a pick-me is. Not the a-hole. And Michael sounds like a solid guy. I don't know why he doesn't like you either, but at the end of the day, he came when you called. Not the a-hole. You had exhausted your other two options. Having got yourself into an uncomfortable situation, you asked if he could help. It was mature of him to put aside any dislike he might have towards you, and to help you. He obviously wasn't that angry about it, or he would likely not have crashed at your place after dropping you off. You apologized, he clearly accepted that, and that was that. Not sure why the friends are wading in, to be honest. You know what they are claiming isn't true, so, hurtful though it is, ignore them. Okay, now onto the update. So I read all the comments, and the ones about Michael just being shy, or slow to warm up, etc. resonated with me, so I decided to do some digging, and asked Josh if he heard the girl saying anything about me. He said he hadn't, but that he'd do some digging himself, and then get back to me. And I'm almost embarrassed by how naive I was. Here's the situation. A couple of months after I met the group, November 2022, one of the girls, Selena, 20 female, asked me how I felt about Michael. I said he seemed like a sound guy overall, but at that point he had interacted with me once, and it was him asking me to turn the oven on, so I didn't have much to go off. She asked me if I thought he was hot. I said, sure. She asked me some more questions, and it honestly felt like she was trying to validate her feelings for him by getting my opinion, if that makes any sense. She was being kind of giggly and shy, so I thought it was just girly gossip and her trying to bond with a new girl in the group. At one point, I said that the fact he goes to the gym 4 times a week is intimidating to me, as someone who is a bit larger, which I want to be clear is my own problem. I wasn't blaming him for being in shape. And that one sentence effed everything over for me. It turns out, Selena is a crap stirrer and went and asked Michael the same questions about me, and he thought I was cute too. But Selena told him I said I was afraid of him and found him intimidating, so he should back off. I want to be clear that I never said Michael as a person was scary or off-putting. It's just that I've had some negative experiences with gym bros, and I was holding my cards close to my chest in case that's what he turned out to be. He's not, by the way. So as a result of this lie, he stayed clear of me, and I had no idea about any of this. The girls were so nice to me, and I thought we were friends. It wasn't until he picked me up that they got openly hostile. I obviously never mentioned what I said in the car, because I didn't know that's what he had been told, and he was calm and collected too. We chatted on the way back and eased out some tension. Hearing all of this, I felt so bad for Michael. He was walking on eggshells around me because someone lied to him. Josh was super confused and upset too, because he's known these girls since year 9. Josh called Michael, and we shared screenshots and talked it all out. He was angry at Selena, who was at the head of the operation, and confronted her in the group chat. Not what I would have done, but whatever. Everyone else in the group thinks those 3 are lying, snotty brats now. The other two girls in the group, who are angels and my actual friends, took me under their wing, and I couldn't be luckier to have them. That's all for now. I won't be making another update because it's pretty much been sorted out. Thank you for taking the time to read. Okay folks, so that's the end of that story. Let me know what you think of that one in the comments. Honestly, a pretty relatable experience, I reckon. But God, I don't miss being a teenager. It's like everyone's still really dumb, but the stakes in regards to decisions are so much higher because everyone's an adult now. Particularly in that 18 to 20-year-old area. But yeah, I'm pretty sure everyone's known someone like Selena at least at one point in their life. Absolute high school drama queen, crap stirrer. I saw one comment that said, I have a particular disdain for people who take moments of vulnerability, like the panic attack that OP had, and make it into a crime, and I couldn't agree more. Am I the a-hole for telling my mum that I will respect my dad's girlfriend more than my stepdad? Backstory. My 17 female mum, 45 female, cheated on my dad, 46 male, 7 years ago with my stepdad, Alan, 50 male. I was 10 at that time. I knew that my mum had another boyfriend that made them to get a divorce. My dad was devastated, to say the least. My dad fought hard to get custody from my mum because he did not want to lose me at all. He did end up getting 50-50. Ever since my parents' divorce, I hated my mum. I hated that she hurt my dad. I remember my dad drinking himself to sleep after the divorce. I was 11 and had to push him out of the couch and cleaned his vomit. I saw what my mum did to my dad, and my stepdad was also to blame for it. My dad did clean up and started to make changes in his life and became a good father figure for me, but he still suffered from the aftermath of my mum's infidelity. He was finally in a better place now. He has worked enough to build a relationship with me too. Suffice to say, the relationship I had with my mum never recovered. I hated going to her place and watch her play family with some random guy. She never made an effort to keep our family together, yet she happily became the loving wife to him. I hated him too. My mum tried really hard to make me forgive her. She said sorry and apologized. I never missed a chance to remind her that she was the one who broke my family. It will make her cry that her own daughter wants nothing to do with her, but I didn't care. I would lock myself in my room the entire time and not come out. I was always loud and clear that I don't like my stepdad, even though he also tried to make it up to me. Any gift he would give me, I would just give it away. Last year, my mum, Alan, and I had a huge fight. I called my mum a cheating tramp who destroyed my family. I also called Alan a homewrecker and said, I hope your own son gets cheated on so that you know what the pain is like. Alan screamed at me that he's tired of my crap. I left their house and went to stay with Dad. I thought it was so unfair that my mum lives happily ever after, and my dad was left behind to pick the pieces of her broken home. That's when my dad sat me down and told me that I should never have talked to my mum like that. Sure, she made a bad choice, but she is still my mother. And then he told me he forgave her, and it is for the best that I forgive her, because it will make me free. My dad went on to explain that in his therapy he realized his marriage had problems. He thought that just because everything was going on a routine and there was silence, he took it as a sign that everything was fine. However, he learned a lot about relationships and himself over the last 7 years, and has tried to become someone I could look up to. He tells me he is dating someone else and he is happy with the life he has now, though there are some triggers. I was happy to hear that my dad was doing okay, and it made me realize I was being irrational. I'm still mad at Mum, but I decided to give her a chance. I said sorry to both my mum and stepdad. I also said sorry to my stepbrother and my half-brother. Things have been calm and cool for a while. I met my dad's girlfriend. She seems awesome. She has 2 kids who are under 10, though she is much younger than my dad, but I didn't care. As long as Dad is happy, I am happy for him. So, a few days ago, I was chatting with my mum. I brought up the fact that I met my dad's girlfriend this week, and she seems nice. My mum's expression changes. She went from having a smile to frown. She says, I didn't know your dad was dating. I said I didn't either, but my dad is taking things slow. I told her she is really nice and cool. My mum then lashed out and called me a hypocrite. She said that for years, stepdad and her have been trying hard to make me forgive them. They went out of their ways to make it right, and I still didn't accept them. But I accepted my dad's girlfriend in a heartbeat, and suddenly she is this cool step-parent. I was angry too, so I blurted out, at least she didn't cheat on my dad like you. I also said that I would never accept my stepdad as a good human, because he is the reason why I grew up in a broken family, that I do not owe them anything after how they treated my dad. I respect my dad's girlfriend more than I respect them because at least she didn't cheat on him and left him to pick up the broken pieces of our family. In fact, she is the reason why Dad is happy now, and she will always be above my stepdad. I stormed out and stayed with a friend. I know I shouldn't have said that. I mean, firstly, my dad and his girlfriend have only been dating for 6 months. My mum and dad were married for 13 years, and I felt like I oversold their relationship to mum, but I feel like an a-hole for how I worded it. Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. Actions have consequences, and your mum was wrong to end the marriage the way she did. I have no empathy for her or her husband. That said, given your animosity towards your mum and her husband, I'm curious as to why you're over at their house. At 17, you are of an age where you can choose what parent you want to live with. Why would you willingly subject yourself to such anger-filled encounters with two people you despise? This is not a healthy environment for you, and especially for the other kids living there. That is their home. Those are their parents, and they don't deserve to have their home turned into a war zone by you, when you could just stay away. Not the a-hole. What everybody seems to be forgetting is the divorce is not just between the spouses, it's between everyone else who has a relationship with them as a couple, especially children. Your mum did not just betray your dad, she betrayed you and has not made genuine attempts to address it. You are well within your rights to not have the same relationship with her as you do your dad. It's something you may never move past, and you do not have to until you're ready. The "I didn't know your dad was dating" line makes me think some of her upset feelings have nothing to do with you. Sounds like she's also upset dad is moving on and found happiness without her finally. Not just about step-parent favoritism. Even if your parents had a bad marriage, why didn't your mum say something? Why didn't she try and communicate that she was unhappy, like anyone in a true partnership would do? My dad cheated on my mum, and he chose for me to live a crappy life. He would put his many affair partners before me by leaving our house to go meet them. It was never just about my parents' marriage. I can't for the life of me understand why cheaters never understand how deeply they break their children as well when they cheat. Not the a-hole, and I'm sorry we both had to go through that stuff. Okay, let's go to an update. This is not a very exciting update, but a lot of the people have shown me love and support in this community. Also, I need to address one thing. Many people criticised my dad for being an alcoholic. Well, he is not an alcoholic. He hasn't drank in 6 years. Yes, I did mention that he drowned his pain in alcohol when my mum cheated, and after the divorce, but he stopped when he saw me trying to clean up his vomit. I know he was wrong, but he has done literally everything to make it up to me. He went to rehab and threw away all the alcoholic drinks in the house. He went to therapy and worked hard on his career. He even got me to therapy. He has apologised for his toxic behaviour, and also that he tried his best to keep our family together. He has always made an open space for me to express my feelings. I feel safe with him. I trust him. He never badmouthed my mother in front of me. Yes, he still suffers from anxiety, but he has it under control. I hated watching his and our lives getting uprooted, so I don't think it's fair for you guys to blame my dad only when he changed for me. He came clean. He stopped being an alcoholic. But say this to me, can my mother undo her infidelity? Also, I know their marriage had problems, but is cheating the right thing for her to do? And I haven't mentioned a major thing, that is my stepdad and my dad used to be friends, until the discovery of my mum's infidelity. He cut him off his life too. So yeah, you can imagine the pain both me and my dad went through, but I'm proud of him for keeping his head straight. So now the update. I talked to my dad and arranged therapy with my old therapist. I also suggested that we need family therapy as well. My dad fully supported me and said he'll look into it. Lastly, I called my mum to say sorry, but instead my stepdad picked it up. I asked for my mum, and he said that mum has locked herself in their bedroom because she's ticked. My mum has this habit that whenever she's mad, she locks herself in a room. I asked why. He said they had a fight about my dad. Basically, my mum had a hint that my dad was dating someone a few weeks ago when he saw him at a local market with his girlfriend. At that time, I knew he had a girlfriend, but didn't tell mum. She took the liberty to track her on Facebook. I don't know how she got her ID. My stepdad has caught her several times looking at my dad's girlfriend. There were pictures of dad and her too. So their argument was that my mum was basically obsessed with my dad's girlfriend and has been stalking her. My stepdad said it's best that I do not speak to her for a while because she clearly has some issues of her own. Well, I don't know what to say. Someone told me she was jealous that my dad moved on. This could just be it. I may or may not post any further updates, so until then, see you guys. I'll be in therapy working things out on my own. Edit. For F's sake, people, I'm really getting tired of people messaging me and commenting that my dad was a deadbeat dad who used me as a nurse. Some of you are so cruel that you guys think that my mum made the right choice by cheating on him and leaving him. To you, I have nothing else to say. You guys are just a bunch of triggered owls who only want to blame the victim here. No, my dad was not alcoholic throughout his life. It only happened when he confronted my mum for her affair. It only lasted for like a year. And no, he didn't make me clean his vomit. I saw him covered in it, so I cleaned him myself, and then he woke up and saw me. I don't know how many times I have to repeat it. That was the first and last time it happened. You guys only see this part, but there's so much you don't know. He was the best dad I could ask for, and I wouldn't trade it just because one time I had to clean him up. I don't care now, because my dad has cleaned up my vomit numerous times when I was sick, and he did it without a complaint. I cannot believe you guys are so pathetic that you're only fixated on that part, and not the part where he actually cleaned himself up and made a better place for me. He was not a deadbeat or abusive in any way. Deadbeat dads don't put their daughters to therapy and fight hard for their custody. Now for another update. I know my post has been viral on Best of Reddit updates. This user asked for my permission for it, and I want to thank her because she, along with many others, have defended my father from people who lack brain cells in my opinion. I was really disappointed in the people who were calling my dad a deadbeat. Some even said that he abused my mum. He has always been an alcoholic. He was a gambler and a serial cheater. Some even said that my dad should never have my custody because he was an F-up. You guys seriously make me question humanity. Here is a guy who sacrificed everything for his daughter, put his own life on hold so that I don't have to feel uncomfortable, and all you guys have is nothing but criticism for him. Shame on you guys for berating someone who has already been through enough. I choose to forgive my dad because he acknowledged his mistakes. Also, he wasn't even that big of an alcoholic. He never had any drinking problem prior to the affair of my mum. Usually he used to drink in silence, and never in front of me. That was the only frickin' time he let himself go. Can't you guys just look past it? Or are you guys so petty that you are turning a blind eye on his sacrifices? And no, my dad is not a crappy dad at all. I guess you cannot please everyone. People are just going to draw their own conclusion. Also, please don't insult my intelligence by saying I don't know what happened. Over the last 7 years, I've been driving myself crazy over it. I asked Mum why she did it. I even asked if my dad was a bad husband or abusive. She denied both of those claims. Also, recently, I went through the same tragedy as my dad. I found out that my boyfriend of 2 years was cheating on me with my friend. I understand my dad more now, that I'm literally walking in his shoes. I'm really devastated. I still cry a lot because of the betrayal I felt from those two people. My dad has tried everything to cheer me up. I'm not in contact with my mum, and I just opened Reddit to keep my mind out of the complications in my life, but looking at how people are literally dragging my dad through the mud just made me angry. And now for the new update. A lot of you have messaged me and asked to keep you guys updated, so before I update, I'm so grateful for those of you who came to show support for me and my dad. I've read or tried to read your messages and comments, and honestly, these positive messages really got to me. I was not upset by the trolls. Also, I had beef with a few of them too, but if I ever said something bad, then please forgive me. I'm still little. Anyways, back to the update. Well, from my last post, you guys can see that I have in fact been cheated on. It is funny because in my first post I mentioned that the last time I had a fight with my stepdad, I told him I hope his son gets cheated on, so he knows how that feels. And now here I am losing my boyfriend and my friend because they stabbed me in the back. I guess it's karma. The breakup is still fresh in my mind. I still cry sometimes thinking about it, but I'm glad I have my other friends and obviously my dad with me, so I can hope I will be fine. And yes, I did end up going to Disneyland with my dad and we had a lot of fun. But my dad ended up becoming sick after we came back for a little while. He's better now. I guess he had some bad food on the way. Otherwise, he is fine. I finally spoke to my mum. She came to visit me at my dad's house. My dad rarely sees her, so he was also shocked to see her. She looked a bit out of place, as if she was entering Narnia. She wanted to talk to me and my dad. Dad went inside his room to give us some privacy to talk. Then we sat down. She apologized to me for acting so irrationally and never taking my feelings into account. I don't know what happened, but I asked her if she ever felt any guilt for cheating on my dad. She cried and said that she has always been guilty of how things ended between Dad and her. She didn't go much into details, but at that time my dad and her were having some marriage problems. She and Dad wanted to work things out, but she was still feeling empty. Then my stepdad came, and she found an escape from her life with him. She said she was selfish. She wanted to have it all, but she knew someday her lies would be caught, and it did. She mentioned that she and Dad have grown distant because of the affair. She does regret, and wishes she could have handled it better. She has spent 7 years or more with my stepdad, but deep down, she still had feelings for my dad. Some days she even wakes up, and guilt washes over her. She regrets ever starting the affair. The problem was not my dad or my stepdad. The problem was her, and she knows she has messed up a lot. I also opened up to her about my struggles in life, how I had to deal with the downfall of their marriage, and how it has affected me over the last few years. I wish she had just ended things in a good way, rather than introducing a man that has become the bane of my existence. I wish she hadn't pushed me to accept him, knowing the pain he caused both me and my dad, and he doesn't seem to feel any remorse. She cried heavily this time, and said she knows now how wrong it was, but she thought that if I accepted my stepdad, then the affair wouldn't look so bad on her. I wanted to tell her that she was stupid, and that's not how it works. I asked her why she was so obsessed with Layla, Dad's girlfriend. She told me that ever since their divorce, there has always been a little spark of hope that someday her and Dad would be together. She knows it's foolish for her to think that, but her subconscious mind was telling her that she and Dad are the end game. But learning that he has moved on and started dating just freaked her out. I told her that is bullcrap, because she was the one who married her affair partner and went on to have a family with him. It is so disgusting and immoral for her to even think that, especially after she was the one who cheated and left. If she still thinks she has a chance with Dad, then she is either delusional or simply stupid. She doesn't get to dictate how others feel and doesn't get to control what I feel. She says she understands and has been a mess for a long time. She opened up about her own marital situation, which is not good at the moment. I also shared my story of being cheated on. She tried to hug me and said it will be okay. It just made me angry. I told her I don't need her sympathy now, especially in matters of cheating. I do love her as a mother. I'm grateful that she has cared for me and especially being honest with me about this situation, but I do not want to talk to her now. I want to go low contact until she sorts things that are messed up with her. She needs therapy, and she should only focus on my half-brother. After our conversation ended, my mum and Dad talked in his room. I didn't try to eavesdrop or tried to listen, so I don't know what they talked. But after coming out of the room, my mum looked very defeated. After that, we talked a little, and she bid us goodbye. I did tell her that I want her in my graduation and other big events, but I want to have some boundaries when it comes to my stepdad. So that closes Mum chapter for a while. And yes, my dad knows about my mum's meltdown, and that's why he wanted to talk to her in private. I don't think this issue is solved here. I honestly laughed a little because my dad and my mum have not been in contact for a long time, and he should know. On the bright side, I did get to meet Layla's kids. Ever since my dad became sick, she's been coming frequently to cook or clean. Sometimes she would bring her kids, and I do enjoy playing with them. I always wished to have siblings, and now I have 3. Hopefully this will be my last update. I honestly thank anyone who has given me so much good advice and comments. I hope you guys have a lovely life, and thank you so much for the support. Okay folks, so that's the end of that story. Let me know what you think of it in the comments. It's quite a full-on story with a lot of angles, but it looks like the mum's kind of understanding the reality of her actions now. You know, she kind of dug herself a hole and didn't think there'd be any consequences, and she's kind of delusional, the fact that she's only thinking of those consequences now. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about this one, and we'll jump to our last story for today. Okay, this last one was from the same subreddit. It's written by user SilverPhoenix93, and it's titled, Am I the a-hole for not letting an autistic boy eat from my plate? My, female 30, friend, Anna, female 37, has a son, Jim, male 11, who has ASD level 1. I moved a couple of months ago and haven't seen them face to face since. Last week I was visiting town and our friends group arranged to meet at a restaurant. Anna said she'd bring Jim. Everyone was cool with it. I asked if he'd be comfortable and she said they, friends of Jim, often met together. It'd be fine. We were 6 people plus Jim. Everything was great, until first courses arrived and Jim started walking around the table, using his hands to help himself from other people's plates. I was shocked and asked another friend, Tom, if this was usual. He said yes, just as Jim reached into my salad. In a reflex, I placed my hand between his and my plate and went, "Jim, please don't, it's mine." He seemed confused, and I told him it's very rude to grab other people's food. Ennis said it was okay, he always does that, nobody minds. I said I did, as Jim went over to the next person. Everyone got quiet, until Tom redirected the convo. When they served in the next course, Jim went at it again. This time he was more forceful, so I pushed his hand away and said that if he wanted to share, he'd have to sit down and wait until I put the food on his plate. And he yelled that I was horrible. It wouldn't kill me to let Jim eat my food. He can't help it, and I of all people should be sympathetic. I'm multiply neurodivergent, although not autistic. I retorted I ought to decide if I share my food or not, with whom and how. The argument got more heated, until I bit back that ASD isn't an excuse, and Jim needs to learn some boundaries. Granted, not his fault he has ASD, but that doesn't mean zero accountability, and she's not doing him any favours by not enforcing boundaries. Tom and another friend sided with me, whereas the others said I was the a-hole. The dinner ended on a rather bad note, and when we left, Jim asked if I was mad. I told him I wasn't upset at him, but he needs to respect other people when they say no. Anna got even angrier, and told me to stop policing her son before storming off. It's been 3 days, and the only people who think I'm not the a-hole are Tom, the other friend, and Anna's husband. I'm starting to wonder if I was wrong. So, am I the a-hole? Am I the a-hole for telling my wife I'm tired of raising a kid that is not mine? I, 31 male, am married to my wife Amber, 30 female. We have a daughter, Emma, 7 female. The problem is my wife's best friend Jennifer, 30 female, has a daughter as well, Harper, 7. Well, Harper's dad is a lazy sack of crap and refuses to do anything with his daughter. He's the type of guy that brags about how he never changed a diaper. Jennifer and Harper are usually at Amber and my house on the weekends because Harper's dad is drinking and watching sports all weekend. On Saturdays, I normally spend all day with my daughter because I don't see her as much as I want to during the week. However, with Harper being there every Saturday, anything I do with Emma, I have to do with Harper. Take Emma to the zoo, it's Emma, Harper and I. Taught them both how to ride bikes, take them both to dance class, take them both to the kids salon, and so on. Mother's Day was the last draw. I took them both to dance class Saturday morning. Amber and I also pay for both dance classes because Deadbeat won't. On the way home, Emma asked if we could stop to get something for Mum for Mother's Day. I said sure, but then it ended up I had to buy something for Harper for her mum as well. On the way home, I just kept thinking, why am I buying someone else's wife a Mother's Day gift? That's his job. A few days later, because I didn't want to ruin Mother's Day, I told my wife that I'm tired of raising Harper. Her real father needs to step up. I'm tired of it taking away time I get to spend with Emma. She said that Jennifer is her best friend and we need to be there for Harper. Now she's not speaking to me and sleeping in the guest bedroom. So, am I the a-hole? I just wanted to add some updates to questions I see. Emma and Harper are best friends. It was my idea to spend Saturday with Emma. I work more during the week, so I wanted to spend Saturday with Emma and to give my wife a bit of a break. We pay for things because Jennifer's husband thinks it's a waste of money to pay for dance class and Jennifer can't afford to pay by herself. Jennifer and Harper do things with Amber and Emma 1 or 2 times a week together during the weeknights. Let's look at the comments. Not the a-hole. If your wife wants to step up for Harper, then she needs to do that, not put it on you. She should be taking her places and doing things with her. Not the a-hole. Stop taking Harper, it's that simple. You're having dad-daughter bonding time and don't want to tag along. If Harper wants to come along on these things, then make her mother come with you all, but not your wife. Not the a-hole, but I don't think anyone is addressing the bigger picture. It sounds like Jennifer is keeping Harper away from her father for her well-being. You mentioned drinking. If Jennifer is in an abusive relationship, you and your wife need to support and encourage her to leave. Your wife may be aware, which is why she was so defensive about wanting her to be there. Please hear this, OP. I absolutely understand your frustration and I don't think it is by any means unjustified, so I think you're not the a-hole. But also please consider this. Your daughter's friend is a child. She did not pick her parents, who, by the sounds of it, are major a-holes. And I absolutely don't want to tell you what to do in your own life, but I can tell you that your parentage of your daughter's friend will mean the world to that little girl. Growing up, my parents might as well have been the parents of all of my friends. They would take us all places, offer real advice and real parenting. They were generous, nearly beyond their means for all of my friends, and that has made a massive difference in the lives of me and my friends. My father passed away this last year, and it has been incredibly difficult to be without him, but I'm incredibly grateful that he left a legacy of kindness and fatherhood, not just with me, but with all of my friends who he cared for and loved. Your generosity and love with that little girl may go unseen with her deadbeat parents, but you're offering a child of compassion, friendship, and support for a child who is otherwise without. That said, I know it can be a huge strain, and you have to do what is right for you. Hope you can find a solution that works well for all parties. Yeah, hard to argue with that comment there. Let's go to the update. So, quite a few people have asked for an update on this situation. Sorry it's taken so long, but it's been a hectic few weeks. As for the updates, Amber and I are fine. Her reaction was based on poor word choices by me, poor communication by both of us, and some things I was unaware of at the time. The short version is, things at home were much worse than I was aware of for Jennifer, and my wife had only recently found out how bad things were. Mother's Day was the straw that broke the camel's back for Jennifer as well. She was raised in a you must stay together for the kids family. When Harper came to me for a gift, she realised that her daughter did not see her sperm donor as a father, so it was time to get out. Jennifer came to my wife to ask for help leaving because she had no family in the area, and Jennifer does not have the financial resources to leave on her own. So the night my wife was going to ask me if we could help her is when I told her I was tired of raising someone else's kid. That's what caused her reaction. The Saturday after our initial argument, Jennifer did not come over, and Emma went to her grandparents, so the wife and I had a long discussion about what was going on. That's when I found out all the stuff going on with Jennifer. The wife and I decided Jennifer and Harper can stay with us for the time being. My problem was never with those two, it was that I had to take over for the deadbeat. When we told Emma about this, she was super happy her friend was staying with her. We had a conversation with her that if she wants to have time with either parent without Harper, just let us know, and we do not want her to feel left out of anything. Last weekend, with the help of a U-Haul and some friends, we got all of Jennifer and Harper's stuff and moved it into our house. The good thing is we have a 4-bedroom house, so everyone gets a bedroom. The bad news is my wife's office got moved to the basement. Wish me luck, and we shall see how this goes. Alrighty folks, so that's the last update for that story at the moment. Let me know what you guys think. Honestly, yeah, I had a feeling there was something bigger going on behind the picture, and it seems like they figured that out. Opie sounds like a pretty nice person, and it's good to hear that he's helping them out. Either way, let's jump to our next story. Alright, we're sticking with the same subreddit. This one was posted by user NewspaperAnnie, and it's titled, Am I the a-hole for not letting my niece call me mum? Okay, so I, 35 female, have a bit of a story. When I was 19, I got pregnant and was extremely irresponsible and decided to keep the baby with my, at the time, boyfriend. We passed the window to get the baby aborted, and as the due date grew closer, we realised just how unsustainable having a baby was at the time, and he ran out on me. I have no idea what to do, but my absolutely wonderful brother and his wife were having trouble conceiving, so they proposed that they raise my child like their own. I said yes, and I'm so thankful they allowed me to have a part in her life because she is a magnificent person. My brother suddenly passed away a few years ago, but he was the greatest man who ever walked on this planet. She began living with me after her father died. Her mother isn't in the picture anymore. Long story, but it's not happy. And a few months ago, she found out I'm actually her biological mother. She's been coming to terms with it, and she tells me she loves hanging out with me and does see a lot of herself in me. This morning, she called me mum, and I immediately stopped her and told her not to call me that. She told me that I'm literally her mother, so she should be allowed to call me mum, and then I told her I'm her aunt, not her mum. Then after she continued to push, I said, so does that mean you should call dad, uncle? That made her stop dead in her tracks, and she stopped and then just slowly left the room. Maybe that was a little bit of a cheap shot considering how freaking close she was with him before he passed, but yeah. Am I the a-hole for not letting her call me mum? Oof, yeah, this is a tricky one. Rough thing to say to the kid, but like, I don't know, I can kind of see both sides of the argument here. Like, the daughter's well within her rights to call her mum because, well, she literally is her mum. But also, yeah, I guess if Opie didn't really have much of a hand in her upbringing, then it can feel a little weird suddenly being called mum. Anyway, let's see what the comments think. Just be honest with her. Repeat after me. I want to talk to you about a conversation we had. I understand that you're a young woman now and finding your own identity is a big part of becoming an adult. When you called me mum, that freaked me out a little. My brother and his wife raised you as their own. They took on a parental role that I couldn't provide. I haven't earned the right to be known as your mum. Maybe someday, but not now. To me it feels as though it diminishes the role of your dad in your life. I don't want to be one of your two mums and have the memory of your dad fade away. He was the best guy in the world and I still mourn his loss, so if I can keep being your cool aunt, that would make me very happy. In her eyes, you rejecting her maternal advances could be seen as a second abandonment. Undo the hurt before it sinks in. Yes, you're the a-hole, but I was able to read your comments and think your reasoning comes from a place of not feeling good enough for the coveted title of mum, and also having a bit of hero worship for your brother, who was a great dad. Remember that you had the experiences to learn to accept your brother was the better choice for your daughter when she was young. Your daughter never experienced your inner turmoil with the choices you made. She probably doesn't quite understand your inner sacrifices on her behalf. You gave her up for her. That does make you a good mother, even if she has only ever known you as an aunt. The last few years since your brother has passed and her adopted mother have been out of the picture, you have been more to her than her aunt. Like it or not, you've been given a second chance to earn the title of mum, and, like it or not, she is looking to knight you with that honorific. It is like the Queen decided to knight you after you courageously saved a village, but you're refusing because the person who actually saved the village died while saving you, and you feel survivor's guilt. You may feel like you're basically just a placeholder for your brother, but you are still doing what is best for your daughter. It is what you've always done. Your daughter is 17 or 18, and almost the same age you were when you had her. She is old enough to have an adult conversation with. When you get a chance, sit down with her and tell her why you feel the way you do. Don't dismiss her feelings, and let her know you appreciate them, but explain you simply don't believe you deserve the title, and it's easier for you to be called aunt for now, and apologise sincerely for it. Yeah, I think there's some proper good advice in these comments. Let's go to the update. Okay, so last week I made a post about my niece, which can be seen here. Basically, when I was 19, I got pregnant and couldn't raise a baby, so I agreed to have my brother and his wife raise her as their own, and I've been her aunt for her whole life. My brother passed away suddenly and she's been living with me for the past 3 years, and she found out I was her biological mum a few months ago. Last week she called me mum, and I told her not to because I wasn't her mum and I was her aunt. After reading some of the comments and engaging with them, I decided to talk to her, and I told her I was very sorry for my low comment about her father, and I miss him terribly too, and I didn't feel comfortable being called mum because I felt I hadn't earned it yet. She was just kind of like, yeah, okay, and we moved on. Then last night, she randomly asked if she could sleep in my bed with me. I was kind of unsure what to do, so I just said okay. And then she got in and snuggled up next to me. This is going to sound cheesy as hell, but when she put herself in my arms, I had this surreal flashback to when she was sleeping in my arms on the day she was born. I had a wave of emotions and started feeling like I was an idiot for giving her up, even though my brother was a better parent than I ever could be. And I had this realization that I've been an effing idiot this whole time because I didn't see now I have an opportunity to actually be her mum after so many years of feeling like I missed out on that. I embraced her in my arms and started to cry. She asked if everything was okay, and I told her everything is perfect. I sincerely hope I didn't screw myself and make her never want to call me mum ever again after my response last time. Either way, I couldn't be more proud of this young woman, and I'm so happy I get to have this role in her life. Anyway, yeah, sorry for the long-winded response. If you made it to the end, thank you. I appreciate it. Alrighty folks, so there you go, that's the end of that one. Let me know what you think of it in the comments. A great ending, I think. Seems like OP heeded the comments and turns out they were right. But yeah, I don't think anyone was the a-hole here, it was just a tricky situation. Anyway, let's go to our next story. Alrighty, same subreddit, this one was written by user Cute University, and it's titled, Am I the a-hole for being uncomfortable with my boyfriend's friend calling me a bitch? For context, I'm a 31 female living with my boyfriend, Mike, who is 34. Mike has a friend, Victor, who comes over a lot. Yesterday, Victor came over to watch baseball with Mike. Victor asked me to pass him a beer, so I passed one over but I dropped it. It didn't crack open or anything, but he said, "Nice one, B." I was honestly shocked and said, "Excuse me?" He started laughing and Mike joined in. I was very uncomfortable and genuinely didn't know what to say. I told Victor that I didn't appreciate him calling me a B. He got super defensive and said he was saying it jokingly. I said it doesn't matter how you were trying to say it, I'm uncomfortable. He got very huffy and said I was just being sensitive, and then he said, "And you're probably going to accuse me of being a sexist now, aren't you? Can't say anything these days." This was wild because A, I didn't say anything about sexism, and B, what do you mean can't say anything? What, can't call women bitches unsolicited anymore? What even was his point here? Mike hadn't said anything during this interaction until I called him out. I asked why he wasn't defending me, and he said, "I don't know, babe, you're being a bit dramatic." At this point, I'd had enough, so I told them to leave, and they went to Victor's to watch the game. Up until this point, I thought I was in the right, until Mike texted me angrily. He said I'd embarrassed him in front of a friend by being so melodramatic and SJW-y. He said Victor didn't mean any harm, and it was like how my friends called me B lovingly and jokingly. He also said it was uncalled for me to kick him and Victor out of the house when Mike literally lives there. I said it's completely different because my friends make sure I'm okay with it and don't say it in a derogatory manner like Victor did. Plus, my friends are wonderful women who have supported me for years, not some friend of my boyfriend's who I barely know. And I was supposed to just let myself be disrespected in my own home? He called me annoying again and then turned notifications off. He slept over last night, Victor lives alone, and hasn't come home yet. I think I might be the jerk because it's true that my friends call me B, and although it's different, as I said above, it's possible that it confused Victor and made him think that was okay. I also didn't mean to make Victor uncomfortable and put him in the hot seat as a guest in my house. Am I the a-hole? Oh, gee, I'm going to go with definitely not. What do you guys think? Let's go to the comments. You were not the a-hole. The only correct response from Victor when you told him not to call you that would be, "I'm so sorry, I won't call you that again." Instead, he deflected the blame to you, and he and your boyfriend gaslit you. This isn't right at all that you're feeling bad. They are the ones who are rude and behave totally unacceptably. Can you move out? Not the a-hole. I would 100% expect my man to be ready to fight if another man called me a B. The least he could have done was tell his friend he couldn't speak to you that way. Would he let his friend call his mum, sister, or daughter a B? I highly doubt it, so it's not okay to call you that either. Not the a-hole, and don't let anyone guilt you into thinking otherwise. Your boyfriend showed you who he is, the kind of company he keeps, and that he'll choose his friend over you. You deserve to be comfortable and not insulted in your own home, and he dismissed that basic right as you being dramatic. Victor told on himself, because even though you didn't call it sexist, that's exactly what it was, and Mike is okay with it. Let them cry it out over beers and call you a B to their heart's content at Victor's house, because I don't think it'd be a good idea to welcome your boyfriend back after this. Alrighty, let's go to the update. Update. This will probably be my final update considering the thread is now locked, which is sad. Firstly, thank you all so much for the support. It means so much to me. I'm so overwhelmed reading all the comments telling me that I deserve better, that I haven't wasted my time with Mike, and that I'm worth more. It truly means the world. Also, thanks for all the lovely PMs I've been receiving. Reading these comments have made me realise that I'm still young and have my life ahead of me, and I'm sure I don't want to spend it with a man like Mike, especially after what happened today. Today has been wild. To start, Mike didn't come home last night, meaning he has now spent 2 nights over there, instead of confronting the issue like a mature adult. He didn't even text me to let me know that he was alive, so I texted him saying that I didn't appreciate at all what happened, and that we should talk about it if there's any chance of saving this relationship. He sent me these wild paragraphs that basically said, "Fine, leave me. Good luck finding someone else who will want to F you. You'll never find another man because you're just another annoying crazy B. Victor was right. You're a cunt," etc. He basically typed an entire essay. It was pretty funny but also disturbing. I couldn't believe a man I thought I loved was saying such nasty and disrespectful things to me. I texted back, "Lol, alright, have fun calling me whatever the F you want with Victor. I won't be around to take it. We're done." His text truly was the last straw for me because he didn't apologise or even try to talk it out. He just immediately jumped to call me names and saying really horrible things. I took my stuff, luckily it wasn't much to pack because all the furniture was Mike's, and drove to my sister's, where I'm currently living with her and her girlfriend. I hope I can find a permanent living arrangement soon. Once again, Thank you so much for all the support. I wouldn't have had the courage to end things without all the kind words and promises that things will get better, and that I deserve more than this. I was scared to leave because for some reason, people seem to think that women lose their value after turning 30. Looking back, Mike made this message clear to me as well during our relationship. I felt like I was undesirable because of my age, and that I was lucky to even have a guy who could stand me. But reading your comments made me realise I'm still young, and there's plenty of time to find someone who will treat me right. Again, I'm so incredibly grateful. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. I, 16 male, have a 4-month-old daughter. Ex-girlfriend wants to go to college, and I am worried. Before anyone says anything, yes, I knew about condoms, I was just dumb. Story time. My parents divorced when I was 10, but lived primarily with my mum. Tiffany's, 16, parents are together. When our parents found out she was pregnant, her parents kicked her out, and my mum kicked me out. So now we live with my dad. During the pregnancy, my dad took my mum to court and got primary sole custody. I know what this means because I had to go to court for my daughter. He sued Tiffany's parents for legal guardianship, and they now pay child support for her, and they are ticked and refused to talk to us. I'm in my bedroom and my daughter is in her bedroom, and my ex is in the guest room that is now hers. My dad made a deal with us. We live with him until 18 with no rent payment. At 18 we need to decide what it is we do. I wasn't really that good in school, and Tiffany is an A student. So I took my GED and my dad got me into welding school. I finish in 2 months. I also work full time, so I do welding school at night. Tiffany goes to school and works on the weekends at Wendy's. This whole thing is a huge ordeal. We literally have no life. My dad helps, but not that much because he feels it's our responsibility, which I agree, but it still sucks. I work 6 AM to 3 PM at a warehouse and go to school from 6 PM to 10 PM. Tiffany is home by 2:30 and picks up our daughter from daycare. We help each other out a lot, and then I head off to school and she stays with her at home until I get home, and do it all over again, day after day. When our daughter was born, my dad made us go to court. We have 50-50, and I don't pay child support because she lives with us. Because I work full time, I can get healthcare for my daughter and myself, and that sucks. It costs me $300 a month, and daycare is $400 a week. Literally, Tiffany works just so we can pay for daycare, and I pay for everything else. When we are short for cash, my dad will help, because he sees we are trying. My dad has been our rock. When we are tired and exhausted, he will step in and give us a break here and there, but he makes sure we have everything we need and keeps us motivated. Tiffany wants to apply to college soon, and I'm worried because I don't want to keep living with her, and I don't think I can keep our daughter full-time as a welder, working 12-hour shifts. But she says she will start at community college and work, but wants to stay with us living together since it's easier. Since I'll be working, and it will be best for us to stay with my dad. But my dad said at 18 we have to pay rent. She doesn't mind, but I don't want to keep living with her because we aren't together. I'm unsure how to tell her this. My dad thinks she should stay with us as long as she is a full-time student to finish her degree, because I'm already getting my career. I just feel that this is all unfair because the burden is on me. I guess I'm ranting because I'm scared and unsure of what all this means. Edit. I guess my thing about her living with us is that we are more like siblings now. We get along and joke and stuff, but since she's my ex, I feel weirded out by it. Maybe I need to take a breather since everyone is saying it's a good thing. Also, I needed to hear it from other people, not just my dad, and he's pretty solid and I should thank him, maybe take him for dinner or something. Second edit. My dad isn't kicking us out at 18, but he wants us to be realistic to the world and pay bills. The money he gets from Tiffany's parents, he just gives it to her. She is saving up money for a car and uses other money for her specific foods and clothes. Before I became a dad, my dad always wanted me to live with him at 18, and figured it out and stayed with him and saved money to buy a house. When he found out I was going to be a dad, he wasn't mad but disappointed and said everything has to change. He also is paying for my welding school of $20,000 and he bought me my car, but I do have to pay my own insurance. He does help as long as he sees we are trying and not being lazy. When school recently started, he took my daughter to daycare every morning and helped Tiffany with a routine to get schoolwork done. Final edit, I have to get to class now. Tiffany wants to be a nurse or PA, but the college told her nursing school is hard to get into, and it's best to have a high school diploma, which is why she's still in high school and working the weekends. But someone mentioned a dual thing for community college, and we'll look into that. So we couldn't get daycare assistance because we are minors, and they use my dad's salary. The funny thing is I can't open a checking account for myself because I'm a minor, but the bank allowed me to open a children's account for my daughter because I'm her parent. Lol, the irony. I read every single comment and it's given me a different POV, and I guess college seems so far and I was counting years, but it's really not that bad. She's like a sister now, and those who asked, I doubt we'll get back together. Honestly, I'm not thinking about anything like that right now. I'm too tired to think of a relationship or that type of future. Geez, this is a bit of a predicament to get into when you're 16. But the dad sounds like a stand-up guy. Like, he is helping them out, but he's being realistic with them at the same time. I think that's a good compromise and a good balance he's found. Anyway, let's look at some of the comments. Your dad is an amazing man. You're right, being an adult and a parent is a burden. It sounds like you're working hard to make a good life for yourself and your kid. Keep doing it. Keep following your dad's advice because it is good. Ultimately, you don't get to choose where your kid's mum lives. Your dad gets to decide whether he will rent to her because it is his house. You can choose for yourself. Do you want to pay rent at your dad's or somewhere else? Check out your options and see what makes sense for you. Also, tell your dad how much you appreciate him. It means you're acting like adults and doing exactly what you should be. Honestly, live with your dad for as long as possible. If your ex can go to college, it's perfectly fine. Good for her. You should be proud of her and yourself. Live with her, co-parent, and be friends. This is the most important part of parenting. So many adults hate each other after separating and act ridiculous. You're both doing amazing. One day life will change, but for now, keep up with the personal growth. Don't worry about not living with her right now because you're not together. You're both very young. Get your lives together and the rest will fall into place in the future. Hug your dad too, and tell him how much you love him. He's amazing. Parenting is expensive. It's not going to get any cheaper either. Take advantage of this time with your dad. Yeah, reading these just makes me so glad that I didn't have a kid when I was a teenager. Mainly the cost side of things. Like, you'll never be able to save money in your life, just having to spend it all on a kid. Especially as a teenager, like, you're not going to have a six-figure job or anything then. Anyway, let's jump to the update. I don't know why I feel like I need to update, but here goes. Tiff and my dad went to the school and were able to get her enrolled in college courses because of her grades. She won't graduate high school way too fast, but she'll have enough to finish high school hours by next December or so, 6 months early. She reapplied for assistance. We got a voucher for daycare, so now it's $50 a week. She quit her job so she can focus on school, but she doesn't start college until spring, so that's cool, it gives her some time. She still wants to be a nurse, so that's cool too. I got a new job that pays more as a forklift operator and will give me an internship for welding, which I won't be able to start until November or December until I finish my classes. And then I have to do a 2-month internship, but they're paying me really good. I started Monday. My dad and I had a long talk about my fears, and he reassured me that it's okay to be scared, but we have a game plan. He's fixing up the basement to make 2 bedrooms and a living room like a little apartment, because he said Tiff and I will need space as we grow. He wants me to buy the house when I'm like 18, like he did, with his parents, and he'll help me pay it as long as Tiff gets to stay until she finishes college, and let her make her own choice. We all agreed this is the best option, and we are all really much happier now. I guess I just needed to let it out. Tiff and I are great, while being parents is hard, but it's been good now that we feel a bit more secure. My mum and Tiff's parents still haven't spoken to us, because we aren't married. Which does make me sad, but it's okay, we have my dad. Tiff's grandparents bought her a car and said that's all they can do for her, and not to contact them again until we are married. The car needs some work, but I'm going to pay for it to fix it up. It needs brakes, suspension, and some regular maintenance. My dad finally told me what all happened, and I didn't know, but it made me open my eyes to all of this. My dad met my mum in high school too, and they were together and got caught kissing. Since my mum's family are Baptist, they forced my dad to marry her. I didn't know in Missouri parents can marry their kids at 15, which is why my dad has been so protective. They were going to marry Tiff and I because she was pregnant, and when my dad stepped in, they couldn't do it. My mum and Tiff's dad went and got a license for us, and were going to marry us in their church. I guess I wouldn't have minded marrying Tiff, but I'd rather do it later. But yeah, that's why they aren't talking to us. My dad did say that if it happened, he would have helped us get it annulled, but we have no intentions of speaking to them right now. He explained that Tiff is stuck, and while I might be afraid, she is even more afraid because she has no one, and I need to reassure her we are here for her as a family. I guess I couldn't see it that way, and it's good that I talked to him. I hugged my dad, and I've been hugging him every day now, and it's nice, it's made us closer. All of this information made me pretty sad and grateful at the same time, and it helped Tiff and I really start talking more. Like we talked, but we didn't talk, and I didn't know she was scared too. We are now doing days for us to be kids, as my dad says. So we both hang out with our friends who still talk to us at least once a week, and Tiff and I do a lot of stuff on the weekends now that she doesn't work, like taking Jelly to the park and going for walks. We did a pumpkin patch. Jelly seems to be happier too, and Tiff doesn't seem as tired anymore. Anyway, thanks everyone for the help, tips and encouragement. I doubt I will update again, and just lurk for parenting advice. Edit. I just wanted to say thanks for thinking I'm a great dad, but I don't believe it just yet. I depend a lot on my dad to help me. Tiff and I are trying. We do take parenting classes, but they offer us a lot of advice, and we've made friends there, which is nice. But I don't think we would be this prepared without my dad. Also, Tiff is on WIC and we take parenting and co-parenting classes. It's my dad's rules. Alright, pretty good update. It seems like they're on the right track. Also, is the kid's name Jelly? I didn't read that before. Interesting name. Maybe it's short for something. Alrighty, now for the final update, 2 years later. Holy crap guys, I finally logged into Reddit and had tons of messages and I found this post. I honestly just didn't expect this. I might as well make an update. Well, Tiff and I are 18 now. I first made my post 2 years ago and Jelly is 2 years old as well. My dad is doing really good now. He finally has a girlfriend and of course he met her at Tiff's community college. She is an admissions counsellor. Tiff is in CC for nursing and killing it. She will have her associates in nursing and then head over for her bachelor's at some point, but yeah, she's doing really good. I'm a welder now and I make pretty good money. Tiff and I are back together. We started dating again this New Year's when she kissed me, and it just felt right. But she made it very clear we are dating, so she is in the basement, which we fixed up, and I'm in my room upstairs, and she makes me text her if it's okay to come over. It's just a funny thing we do. Yeah, I'm gonna marry her. We go to family counselling 4 times a month, 2 weeks virtual and 2 weeks in office because of our schedule. We found that this helps us. It's like couples counselling, but not. I'm not the best communicator, and this has helped me with stressful times with Tiff and Jelly. I feel like I aged the past 2 years. I definitely don't feel 18. I feel a bit older. Jelly is the most happiest kid, and she literally lights up a room, and I honestly just can't imagine not being in her life every second of the day. She loves Pa. That's what she calls my dad. She has him wrapped around his finger. He literally spoils her all the time. I really love being a dad to her. I love taking naps with her and how she's just a daddy's girl. She literally is my shadow. It drives Tiff crazy, but she is also really happy. We do go out on dates, to like dinners and movies. Sometimes we just sit in the car and talk and laugh. Mostly laugh. My dad has changed a lot, and us four are really close. He's just so much happier, and I think his girlfriend makes him happy. Like, made him alive again. He's always doing some weird teaching moments, like if Tiff is irritated and walks away, he'll just say, "Well, an irritated woman tends to shop to get her mind off things. Can you afford that?" Lol, so yeah, he's constantly with his little comments. I haven't spoken to my mother at all, and I have no intention of doing so. Tiff's parents did come back and try to build a relationship with her, but they always made her feel like crap, so she cut contact with them. My dad still wants us to buy the house, and I told him we have no plans on ever moving out, so I told him I'll buy the house when either I'm 30 or when Tiff and I get married, and she said not until she graduates and gets a job, so no wedding bells for at least another 2 years. If you ask Tiff, she says she doesn't plan on getting married until she's 28, so it might be longer, haha. Alrighty guys, that's the end of that one. Let me know what you think of it in the comments. Pretty good conclusion in the end. You know, I can't imagine how hard it would be to be dealt a card like that when you're 16 and have to work your way out of it, but it seems like Opie's done a pretty good job, with the help of his father, who's honestly the saving grace in this whole story. And yeah, hopefully Opie can fix his relationship properly with Tiff and, you know, they can be good parents for the kid. Anyway, let's move on to our next story. Alrighty, our next one was posted on the Am I the A-hole subreddit. It was posted by user QuickGuy22, and it's titled, "Am I the a-hole for not supporting my girlfriend's sister?" This is a throwaway because people who know me know my account. Some info. I've been with my girlfriend, 27 female, for 5 years. She loves her sister a ton, which is a good thing as I believe supporting and helping your siblings, as long as it doesn't ruin your own life. You'll understand why I say this later on. We just put down a mortgage on a house in the suburbs of a large city. I, 28 male, work in tech as a software developer with a master's degree in computer science. I make quite a lot of money, so money issues never arose. Girlfriend doesn't work and does chores and cooking in the house. Both agreed on this. I was going to propose to girlfriend next year, but a problem arose around 2 years ago. For the last 2 years, probably longer, the girlfriend has been sending money to her younger sister. Let's call her Emily. Emily got pregnant at 20 years old. Emily works as a waitress. The father is bouncing from job to job. Emily says that he's very lazy. He'll disappear hours at a time without telling Emily where he's going or what he's doing. Emily has asked my girlfriend on several occasions for money. My girlfriend, being the nice and sweet person she is, says yes all the time. It started off as paying for diapers, no problem. Then baby clothes, which also no problem. Then daycare, which I just brushed off. I talked with girlfriend saying we can't always pay for everything, and that helping out for a couple of things is okay, but not everything. Girlfriend reassured me and said that it would be stopping soon once they get their feet picked up, which is fine. One day, I hire a financial planner. The next day I get an email saying my account has sent approximately $50,000 US for the last 10 months, and have around $20,000 sitting in my account. I talk with my girlfriend and she apologizes and says she knew that I wouldn't want to keep sending her sister money, and how she just cares about her sister. We've been paying for everything. Insurance, rent, car payment, daycare, clothing for all three, dinners, dates, going out expenses. It is partly my fault because I never check my bank account. Girlfriend shows me text messages between her and Emily saying she needs the money. I then noticed a pattern where Emily would say, "Hey, can you send me money? I don't have money for..." And of course, girlfriend says yes. I brush it off and girlfriend says she won't spend any more. The next day, girlfriend sends her $1,000 because they needed car repairs. I talk with girlfriend and we get into an argument where she says she'll always help her sister no matter what. I understand to an extent. We argue trying to understand each other's point of view. As stated before, we had $20,000 and now we're down to $19,000. And then how about the next time? And the next time after that, on top of our own expenses? Girlfriend then decided that she needs some time alone and that she'll be at her mother's for the time being. Now I'm all alone in the house I thought I would live with, the girl of my dreams. Am I the a-hole for arguing with my girlfriend, for caring about her sister too much? Holy moly, definitely not the a-hole. Yeah, I understand helping someone out to an extent. But at that point, it's the responsibility of the father and the mother in that relationship. Like, yeah, I'd be pissed if I was paying the rent for some guy who was too lazy to pay for it himself. Like, yeah, that's just ridiculous. Anyway, let's see what the comments think. Not the a-hole. Separate your bank accounts. Do not let her use money for her sister. That sister is going to be a leech for your entire life. So yeah, obviously Emily comes packaged with your girlfriend. Better reconsider your entire relationship because I have a feeling that Emily ain't going to let the golden goose go. I hope the house isn't under joint names and that you can finance the mortgage on your own. This is a massive red flag. If she's taking liberties with money in your joint account to fund the lives of 3 people now, don't you think this will continue in the future? $50,000 is a lot of money. She lied when she said she would stop, and then leaves when you call her out on it? Please do yourself a favour and change the locks, terminate access to your account, and get a new girlfriend. You are her cash cow and she's abusing you. Not the a-hole. Girlfriend has embezzled $50,000 from you and doesn't think she did anything wrong. I think you should call the police and press charges. Okay, now onto some edits and updates. Edit. Thank you everyone for the support. I never thought that my situation would blow up to thousands of people. I'll try to answer some questions at best. I make around $150,000 a year as a lead software developer. As someone who has no kids, dogs, or any major responsibility besides myself and a girlfriend, I never checked my account. She comes from a cultural family where family is everything, and money is just paper. She texted me earlier saying how it should always be family first, and that money didn't mean anything without family, and how we should help close family like siblings in their time of need. At this point I told her I needed time to myself, and told her not to come back until I'm ready to talk. I apologise if my sentences aren't making sense, as whiskey is my only friend right now. I also forgot to mention we started dating before all this money came into play, so I trusted her. Another edit. I'm more sad by the betrayal than the money. Money will come back, but time will never come back. 5 whole years, my proposal plan, my life plan, my future kids I dreamt about with her, just gone. All the things we've said to each other, all the late night wine drunk times we spent, all the dates, all the flowers I gave her. I really tried with all my power to be the best man she can have. I would have trusted her with my life. And what do I get back? 50,000 gone. Final update. She is now my ex. We met at a local coffee shop, and I told her that things wouldn't work out for us, and she went absolutely ballistic. She caused a scene begging me not to end it. It did hurt me to see her like this, but after a couple weeks to give it some thought, I would not want a wife who was a liar and one I couldn't trust financially. I left a $100 bill on the table and left, but she followed me down to my car. She begged and told me she wouldn't send any more money to her sister and how she would do anything for us to be together. It was hard, but I stayed strong. She picked up her belongings the other day and I almost had to call the cops because she wouldn't leave. She first tried everything from sexual favours, begging, crying. Then it turned to screaming that I ruined her life, to even saying without her I wouldn't have gotten where I am now because of her support. I stayed strong, and when she left I just broke down sobbing. For those wondering, I'm not going to press charges because all I want is for her to leave me alone. I don't want anything to do with her. I don't ever want to see her face again. The money will come back as it's just me and my house and 2 paid off cars. It does get lonely, so I'm thinking of getting a puppy, a Doberman for those wondering. Thank you everyone for all the suggestions, and a lot of you really had me thinking about my decisions, and I definitely learned a lot of valuable lessons. Goodbye and thank you. Alright, so there you have it folks, that's the end of that one. Looks like OP got rid of the girlfriend for good, and honestly I don't blame him. Like, yeah, 50,000 is a lot, but yeah, like OP said, it's the trust that comes with that.
Would I be the a-hole if I break up with my fiancé because of his past as a cheater? I, 25 female, met my fiancé, Jamie, 34 male, a year ago through a friend. We instantly clicked and started dating. After 1 year, he proposed to me, and I said yes. But here's the thing. Before proposing, he told me the truth about his past relationship. He was married to a woman, Cynthia, 3 years ago, and they divorced because he started cheating on her with a co-worker. He regrets ever doing that. He's been on a healing journey from that. He has told me that the affair was a mistake and that he would never do it again. He just wants to be honest with me before we take this relationship to the next level. I understand what he meant. He's obviously remorseful, and I've seen his ex-wife. She seems happier with someone else. And everyone makes mistakes or takes decisions that they regret. I trust him and love him a lot, but I can't shake off this feeling that he would not do this to me. This started when he was being secretive about his phone. He would smile at the screen often. I asked him what it is. He just showed me his phone and he was looking at a meme. He probably sensed that I was doubting him, so he let me check his phone. There was nothing in there, but still I couldn't trust him. A few days after our engagement, he had a work party. He took me to that party as well. I saw that he was being a bit friendly to some woman. I went there and introduced myself. Later, I got to know she was the same girl he cheated with. I confronted him about it. He said that he doesn't talk to her. They broke up shortly after their divorce, and he cannot avoid her because he worked with her. I told him I'm not comfortable with him hanging out with someone who was his mistress. He respected my decision, and as far as I know, he has not contacted her outside of work. I know I have no reason to doubt him. He doesn't give off any signs of infidelity, yet I have a hard time trusting him. He is loving and caring. He supports me in my dreams. He is patient and kind. I know it's unfair of me to judge him based on just that. A few weeks ago, a friend of mine asked me to meet her, and she told me the whole truth about Jamie. She knows Cynthia because she and her brother were college friends. She told me to be careful of Jamie because he cheated on his ex-wife. I told her I already know that. She further told me he started cheating on Cynthia right after she had a miscarriage. He was upset that Cynthia was depressed and he started to feel neglected. After talking to my friend, I confronted Jamie. He told me this was the truth. He was still in grief because he lost his child. He didn't know what he was thinking. He started to feel resentful towards her, but he never meant to hurt her. I asked him that I need a break from all of this. It's just too much for me. He said he understands, and I still haven't talked to him. I don't know if I should break up with him just because of this. He does feel guilty about it, but he is really nice and mature. Will I be making a mistake if I break up with him? Edit. I think I should mention that he never said anything about a miscarriage. He just told me that they had a tragic accident which made both of them distant. I didn't ask because he said he doesn't want to talk about it. Also, I'm still not fully sure if he regrets the cheating because he never confessed to cheating to his wife. His wife caught him in the middle of the act inside their house, so this has been a bother that he got caught, and probably feels guilty for that. I don't know. Geez, it sounds like a lot of baggage for a 25-year-old to be jumping into. Let's look at the comments. Don't marry people you've known for a year, especially people who are known cheaters. There is absolutely no reason to rush things if you don't trust him. Slow things way down if you want to try to work things out, but also someone being a cheater is absolutely a valid reason to dump them. He didn't tell you the whole truth. He told you the part he could most easily put a spin on and made you pry the ugly details out of him when other people sought you out to warn you. He may say he'll never cheat again, but he still sees lying by omission and running interference as solutions to his problems, and that should give you massive pause. He is still in contact with his mistress, red flag. He still works with the mistress, red flag. He never told you the full story about the cheating, red flag. He is not reliable in times of need. He sought another woman while his wife was in one of the deepest hell a woman can be in. Ask yourself, if something traumatic happened to you, will he, A, be there for you, or B, seek out his own comfort? Let his history guide you, and you'll see your potential future. You need to step away from this 30-odd-year-old cheating divorcee. He is a red flag. Yeah, I'm all for people changing and growing and learning from their mistakes, but if he's still lying by omission, there's still a few bad habits going around there. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Alright, let's jump to the update. I analysed all the things you guys said. Some of you all have told me to forgive him because apparently a man's cheating is not a big deal because men can't control themselves. That was hilarious. As if that's going to help me. Anyways, I talked to him. I explained that his past bothers me. I mean, he cheated on his wife when she was going through something so traumatic. I brought up the fact that I'm also on high risk when it comes to pregnancy. I told him I cannot fully trust him that he will not cheat on me as well. He told me he has learned his lesson from the previous time. When his infidelity got exposed, he had people around him calling him a monster. His parents still don't talk to him directly. He feels guilty because of it and regrets it. Then I told him that maybe we should date more rather than rushing into marriage and maybe go to couples counselling. That's when he got slightly mad. He said that if I don't trust him, then there is no point in being together. I tried to fight and say it's not like that. We just need some time. He has to understand that. He told me again that it was not fair for me to judge him when he never judged me because of my past. I asked what he means by that. He pointed out that he knows how in the past I used to sleep around a lot. Okay, let me be clear to you. Yes, when I was in college I did have a few one-night stands and a few serious relationships. I told him he was being illogical because even though I have a sexual history, I never cheated on any of my boyfriends. I always called it quits when I realised it was not meant to be. He kept pressing the matter and says I should let it go because he let go of my past. WTF? I said my past is in the past, and now I'm thinking about my future, and he is so pathetic to even compare his immoral cheating with my past. He argued that I was immoral too. It felt like a dead-end road. We both shouted and fought, and eventually I took the ring off and said goodbye. The last thing he said was that his past and baggage aren't as big as mine, and that I'm a hypocrite for judging him. That I'll have a hard time finding a partner who is willing to be with a loose girl like me. It hurts, to be honest. I never thought he would act like that. I'm trying my best to move on, but I'm still stuck in a limbo and his words are repeating inside my head. Alrighty guys, so that's the end of that story. Let me know what you think in the comments. Honestly, it sounds like OP's partner kind of portrayed his true colours in the end there. It was hard to ignore all the red flags that OP said in the first post, and yeah, it looks like all her worries were kind of confirmed. Either way, that's it for that story. Let's jump to the next one. Okay, so this one was posted on the same subreddit. It was written by a throwaway account, and it's titled, "Am I the a-hole for breaking up my engagement because of what my fiancé said about my mum?" I, 26 female, am not from the USA, so I might have some grammatical errors. So, my dad left my mum and I when I was only 5 years old. I also have a brother, 21 male. He left the country with his mistress and never tried to contact. We were really poor. My mum had to do some immoral stuff to get food on the table. She was a stripper and also sometimes pleased men to get money for us. She put me and my brother through school. I understood why my mum did what she did because we had no money, and she wanted us to have a better life than ours. And I'm not ashamed because of it. I also started working part-time when I was 14. I was a good student, so I got a scholarship to a good university. My mum eventually stopped stripping when my brother got a part-time job too. She now only works as a waitress. I met my fiancée, Javi, 27 male, in college. This was my first serious relationship. We both loved each other. I never told Javi about my mum's past because my mum made me promise to never say that to anyone. I kept that, but it felt so wrong to keep this huge information away from my fiancée. Javi knew about us. He only knew that my family was extremely poor. He doesn't care about that. He's a very sweet guy who always takes care of me. He even covered some of the cost of my brother's education as well, even though I told him not to. My mum also likes him. That's why she told me to not tell Javi anything about her past or what she did for a living. So, a week ago, my mum and I went to Javi's house to meet his parents. I didn't realise his uncle and aunt would also be there. Upon seeing his uncle, my mum's face went white, as if she saw a ghost. His uncle also kept staring at my mum as if he knows her. My mum felt uncomfortable and said that she wants to go home. Javi was confused by it, but nonetheless we left earlier than we anticipated. The next day, my fiancé came to our place and shouted at me that I lied to him. He said that I'm a gold digger, just like my mother, and my mother is the reason why his uncle's first marriage broke. I asked him to explain what the hell he's talking about. He said that his uncle knew my mum because he was a regular customer of her and often hired her for her services. His wife caught them red-handed and immediately filed for divorce. My mum was crying and said that she didn't know he was married. She never asks men about their marital status. I told him that he has no right to speak to my mum like that, and his uncle was fully to blame because he was a married man who was hiring escorts for himself. My mum has no obligation towards his marriage. Javi still blamed me and my mum and said that he felt deceived. He said to my face that he doesn't want to date a tramp's daughter because I will probably invite men just like my mum. My mum had to beg him to not break the engagement. I'm tired. If I do end up marrying him, my mum would always have to suffer because of it. I don't want that. So I gave him his engagement ring and told him to never show his face. My mum is angry because she thinks this is my only chance to get married, because no other guy would marry into a family where the mum works as a sex worker. But I think I did the right thing, because I'm not ashamed of my mum. I didn't even want to hide it in the first place. I wanted to tell him the truth, but my mum refused it. So, am I the a-hole? Edit. I need to clear things out a bit. Javi knows everything about my life. He knows my dad fled the country and we had to live in poverty because of it. He knows my mum got pregnant way too young. I did give him hints that my mum had to do shady things to get by. He probably thought my mum stole things. But I didn't disclose that she was a sex worker. I wanted to tell him, but my mum said not to because she doesn't want this to escalate. Also, I never asked Javi to pay for my brother's education. He did it from the goodwill of his heart. I did promise to pay him back. I'm not after his money. I do love him a lot. Even though we're broken up now, I still miss him. We have been together for 6 years. It's not easy to throw away those 6 years, just like that. Let's look at some comments. Oh, so you are to be a tramp because of your mum. But doesn't that mean he is probably going to use escorts regularly? It runs in his family to be unfaithful according to his logic. Not the a-hole, but boy, your ex sure is. You dodged a bullet getting rid of him. You'll find the right person for you. Give your mum a hug and be happy you aren't marrying into that awful family. Wow, your ex is a major butthole. Such a big butthole that I'm sure he oozes poop everywhere from how huge his butthole is. Also, not the a-hole. Your mother sacrificed herself to survive and take care of her children. If your now ex can't understand that, have no compassion for the woman he knows, and after learning what really happened decided to blame her for the attitude of his disgusting uncle, then he is not a real man. Your mother is a queen, and she shouldn't be ashamed of that because your genitor put her through and forced to give up her own happiness in the corner to take care of her children. Now, this is X rather asking you questions and wanting to know your side of the story, decides to take the side of his family and condemn you automatically. Even worse, he proclaimed false accusations and insulted you and your mother. He showed no heart or intelligence, just his true face, so believe him. Your mother is scared for you, but this guy is not the one for you, and he proved it. You deserve someone who will respect, care, understand, love, and have heart for those who suffer, and don't judge so easily on others' lives. Now, I encourage your mother to go into therapy, and to not let her past put a shadow on her present and future. When she'll be in the process of healing, she should share her story, because I can't tell you how many women need to see how a woman and mother has strength in adversity. Writing her experience and telling her story will be a slap in the face of all the pain and suffering. Okay, let's go straight to the update. Hi everyone, I wanted to say thank you so much for your support. I never thought I would get so much support from strangers than people from my own community. I was, however, expecting a lot of hate towards my mum, considering her profession, but it is less than what I expected. I don't know if this qualifies as a proper update, but there have been a few changes. After I broke the engagement, I've been getting calls from my friends and Javi's family that I'm making a huge mistake. My close friends know that my mum used to be a sex worker, but mutual friends of mine and Javi do not know about it. So they're also questioning me if I ever did that. Javi did apologise. He said he got carried away by his emotions and he loves me. Not gonna lie, I love him too. I wanted to get past all of this. I know people have told me that I should not get married to this guy, but I was weak for a moment, until he told me that he is willing to let things go and start anew if my mum does not attend any wedding functions. I was shocked. Weddings are a big deal in our culture. There are many functions and parties surrounding the wedding. How can he ask that I do not involve my mum? He told me that because of my mum's past, it would be difficult for his family members to be around her. He convinced his mum with difficulty about this engagement. Also, since his uncle is going to be there, it will only remind him of bad things. At that moment, I realised that I was never a consideration. It was always him and making his family happy. My family is beneath them because we're not from a respectable background and come from homes of sex workers. I stood firm and told him, no, it's not going to happen. I will not give in to their demands because the way I see it, my mum did not do anything wrong. It's funny how quickly people judge a woman based on her work, that she had to do to feed her kids, but no one will come forward to help her in time of her need. Javi threatened that I'm making a huge mistake by letting him go. I just left. I do not have the energy to deal with it. I think this news is spreading like wildfire now. I may have to move out of the city, because if this news reaches to my workplace, I know damn well people will ostracize me, so I might look for a job in a different area. Lastly, I messaged him saying I'm sorry for not telling him earlier about my mum, but I loved him a lot. I'm sad that he chose this topic to ruin a 6-year-old relationship. I'll be going to the bank and pay back the money he paid for my brother's education. I'm still crying and jilted to say the least. Also, I saw that my post was shared in different religious groups bashing my mum, saying that I deserved it. Well, let me tell you religious fanatics that most men who claim to be religious are not at all. My mum had many clients who claimed to be religious, including pastors and preachers. So please, before blaming my mum, look inside your house and your family. You might find chameleons hiding within your family too. Alrighty folks, that's the end of that story. Let me know what you think of it in the comments. It is sad to hear how judgmental people can be, especially when it comes to things in the past, but I kind of expect it at this point. It's almost human nature. I'm glad OP got out of there though. She deserves a partner that puts her first and considers her feelings. Either way, let me know what you guys think and we'll jump to our last story. Okay, this one was posted on the same subreddit again. It was written by user Go-Kart Injuries and it's titled, Am I the a-hole for throwing out my son's go-kart after he hit his sister with it? My husband and I have 4 kids, 2 boys and 2 girls. For Christmas, we got our younger 2, 8 female and 10 male, these kids' electric ride-on scooters, and our older son, 14, got a go-kart. We told my kids that they need to be careful of pedestrians and other riders, and that if they hit someone or something, their scooters and go-kart will be taken away, and if they broke anything, they'd have to work to pay back what they broke. 2 weeks ago, we took the kids to the park to ride their scooters and go-kart, and my older son challenged the younger 2 to a race. My oldest daughter, 16, had to walk across the park to get water, and when she was halfway there, my oldest son hit her going full speed, around 15 miles per hour. My daughter broke a total of 8 bones in her leg and foot, and got a concussion. On top of the broken bones and head injury, her phone and watch were both broken. Once we got home from the hospital 4 days later, I listed my son's go-kart for sale and told him he has to get a job to pay for his sister's new phone and watch. He thinks I'm being unfair because I already sold the go-kart and I knew this could happen when I bought it for him. Then tried to blame it on her because she wasn't paying attention. She was on her phone when she was walking. But I told him it doesn't matter. He knew these were the rules when he got the go-kart, and it's his responsibility to make sure he doesn't hurt anyone on it. My husband thinks we're being too rough on him and says we shouldn't make him pay for anything, or only make him pay for her watch, $500. I say no. He knew he'd have to pay for broken property when he got the go-kart, and he chose not to be careful, so he can get a job this summer and pay the $1,500 like he was originally told. My husband thinks I'm being too hard and just trying to get back at him for hurting his sister, but I said if it was anyone else, they'd be responsible for broken property and medical bills, so this is very fair. We can't come to an agreement, so I wanted to know if I was the jerk. Wow, making a child responsible for their actions? Yeah, definitely not the a-hole from me. Let's look at some comments. Not the a-hole. Love that one of his reasons why it's unfair is you knew this could happen. Mum, you know I'm irresponsible, so really it's on you for trusting me. Not the a-hole. When I was 4 or 5 years old, my neighbour's son accidentally ran me over with his four-wheeler. His parents set it on fire in their backyard that night as a lesson. At least you sold yours. Edit to add, this happened in the late 80s in a rural farm town. It was different then. Not the a-hole. I'm glad that your daughter wasn't more seriously injured, because she could have been. If that had been anybody else, you'd be looking at more than just a doctor's bill and replacing a phone and watch. It almost sounds like he purposefully hit her. Regardless of whether she was on her phone, he was operating a vehicle that had the ability to miss her, but that's not what happened. Blaming the victim isn't going to get very far if he tries the same excuse while driving a car. Vehicular assault would be the least of his worries. Losing his license and insurance, jail time, restitution and/or being sued. He accepted your terms of use when you bought him the go-kart. If he can't operate a go-kart safely, I shudder to think of him being on the road in a car. Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that comment. This kid is realistically only about 2 or 3 years away from operating a motor vehicle on the road. This sounds like a pretty good opportunity for him to maybe learn from his mistakes. Either way, let me know what you guys think about this one. Would I be the a-hole if I break up with my fiancé because of his past as a cheater? I, 25 female, met my fiancé, Jamie, 34 male, a year ago through a friend. We instantly clicked and started dating. After 1 year, he proposed to me, and I said yes. But here's the thing. Before proposing, he told me the truth about his past relationship. He was married to a woman, Cynthia, 3 years ago, and they divorced because he started cheating on her with a co-worker. He regrets ever doing that. He's been on a healing journey from that. He has told me that the affair was a mistake and that he would never do it again. He just wants to be honest with me before we take this relationship to the next level. I understand what he meant. He's obviously remorseful and I've seen his ex-wife. She seems happier with someone else. And everyone makes mistakes or takes decisions that they regret. I trust him and love him a lot, but I can't shake off this feeling that he would not do this to me. This started when he was being secretive about his phone. He would smile at the screen often. I asked him what it is. He just showed me his phone and he was looking at a meme. He probably sensed that I was doubting him, so he let me check his phone. There was nothing in there, but still I couldn't trust him. A few days after our engagement, he had a work party. He took me to that party as well. I saw that he was being a bit friendly to some woman. I went there and introduced myself. Later, I got to know she was the same girl he cheated with. I confronted him about it. He said that he doesn't talk to her. They broke up shortly after their divorce, and he cannot avoid her because he worked with her. I told him I'm not comfortable with him hanging out with someone who was his mistress. He respected my decision, and as far as I know, he has not contacted her outside of work. I know I have no reason to doubt him. He doesn't give off any signs of infidelity, yet I have a hard time trusting him. He is loving and caring. He supports me in my dreams. He is patient and kind. I know it's unfair of me to judge him based on just that. A few weeks ago, a friend of mine asked me to meet her, and she told me the whole truth about Jamie. She knows Cynthia because she and her brother were college friends. She told me to be careful of Jamie because he cheated on his ex-wife. I told her I already know that. She further told me he started cheating on Cynthia right after she had a miscarriage. He was upset that Cynthia was depressed and he started to feel neglected. After talking to my friend, I confronted Jamie. He told me this was the truth. He was still in grief because he lost his child. He didn't know what he was thinking. He started to feel resentful towards her, but he never meant to hurt her. I asked him that I need a break from all of this. It's just too much for me. He said he understands, and I still haven't talked to him. I don't know if I should break up with him just because of this. He does feel guilty about it, but he is really nice and mature. Will I be making a mistake if I break up with him? Edit. I think I should mention that he never said anything about a miscarriage. He just told me that they had a tragic accident which made both of them distant. I didn't ask because he said he doesn't want to talk about it. Also, I'm still not fully sure if he regrets the cheating because he never confessed to cheating to his wife. His wife caught him in the middle of the act inside their house, so this has been a bother that he got caught, and probably feels guilty for that. I don't know. Geez, it sounds like a lot of baggage for a 25-year-old to be jumping into. Let's look at the comments. Don't marry people you've known for a year, especially people who are known cheaters. There is absolutely no reason to rush things if you don't trust him. Slow things way down if you want to try to work things out, but also someone being a cheater is absolutely a valid reason to dump them. He didn't tell you the whole truth. He told you the part he could most easily put a spin on and made you pry the ugly details out of him when other people sought you out to warn you. He may say he'll never cheat again, but he still sees lying by omission and running interference as solutions to his problems, and that should give you massive pause. He is still in contact with his mistress, red flag. He still works with the mistress, red flag. He never told you the full story about the cheating, red flag. He is not reliable in times of need. He sought another woman while his wife was in one of the deepest hell a woman can be in. Ask yourself, if something traumatic happened to you, will he, A, be there for you, or B, seek out his own comfort? Let his history guide you, and you'll see your potential future. You need to step away from this 30-odd-year-old cheating divorcee. He is a red flag. Yeah, I'm all for people changing and growing and learning from their mistakes, but if he's still lying by omission, there's still a few bad habits going around there. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Alright, let's jump to the update. I analysed all the things you guys said. Some of you all have told me to forgive him because apparently a man's cheating is not a big deal because men can't control themselves. That was hilarious. As if that's going to help me. Anyways, I talked to him. I explained that his past bothers me. I mean, he cheated on his wife when she was going through something so traumatic. I brought up the fact that I'm also on high risk when it comes to pregnancy. I told him I cannot fully trust him that he will not cheat on me as well. He told me he has learned his lesson from the previous time. When his infidelity got exposed, he had people around him calling him a monster. His parents still don't talk to him directly. He feels guilty because of it and regrets it. Then I told him that maybe we should date more rather than rushing into marriage and maybe go to couples counselling. That's when he got slightly mad. He said that if I don't trust him, then there is no point in being together. I tried to fight and say it's not like that. We just need some time. He has to understand that. He told me again that it was not fair for me to judge him when he never judged me because of my past. I asked what he means by that. He pointed out that he knows how in the past I used to sleep around a lot. Okay, let me be clear to you. Yes, when I was in college I did have a few one-night stands and a few serious relationships. I told him he was being illogical because even though I have a sexual history, I never cheated on any of my boyfriends. I always called it quits when I realized it was not meant to be. He kept pressing the matter and says I should let it go because he let go of my past. WTF? I said my past is in the past, and now I'm thinking about my future, and he is so pathetic to even compare his immoral cheating with my past. He argued that I was immoral too. It felt like a dead-end road. We both shouted and fought, and eventually I took the ring off and said goodbye. The last thing he said was that his past and baggage aren't as big as mine, and that I'm a hypocrite for judging him. That I'll have a hard time finding a partner who is willing to be with a loose girl like me. It hurts, to be honest. I never thought he would act like that. I'm trying my best to move on, but I'm still stuck in a limbo and his words are repeating inside my head. Alrighty guys, so that's the end of that story. Let me know what you think in the comments. Honestly, it sounds like OP's partner kind of portrayed his true colours in the end there.
It was hard to ignore all the red flags that Opie said in the first post, and yeah, it looks like all her worries were kind of confirmed. Either way, that's it for that story. Let's jump to the next one. Okay, so this one was posted on the same subreddit. It was written by a throwaway account, and it's titled, "Am I the a-hole for breaking up my engagement because of what my fiancé said about my mum?" I, 26 female, am not from the USA, so I might have some grammatical errors. So, my dad left my mum and I when I was only 5 years old. I also have a brother, 21 male. He left the country with his mistress and never tried to contact. We were really poor. My mum had to do some immoral stuff to get food on the table. She was a stripper and also sometimes pleased men to get money for us. She put me and my brother through school. I understood why my mum did what she did because we had no money, and she wanted us to have a better life than ours. And I'm not ashamed because of it. I also started working part-time when I was 14. I was a good student, so I got a scholarship to a good university. My mum eventually stopped stripping when my brother got a part-time job too. She now only works as a waitress. I met my fiancé, Javi, 27 male, in college. This was my first serious relationship. We both loved each other. I never told Javi about my mum's past because my mum made me promise to never say that to anyone. I kept that, but it felt so wrong to keep this huge information away from my fiancé. Javi knew about us. He only knew that my family was extremely poor. He doesn't care about that. He's a very sweet guy who always takes care of me. He even covered some of the cost of my brother's education as well, even though I told him not to. My mum also likes him. That's why she told me to not tell Javi anything about her past or what she did for a living. So, a week ago, my mum and I went to Javi's house to meet his parents. I didn't realise his uncle and aunt would also be there. Upon seeing his uncle, my mum's face went white, as if she saw a ghost. His uncle also kept staring at my mum as if he knows her. My mum felt uncomfortable and said that she wants to go home. Javi was confused by it, but nonetheless we left earlier than we anticipated. The next day, my fiancé came to our place and shouted at me that I lied to him. He said that I'm a gold digger, just like my mother, and my mother is the reason why his uncle's first marriage broke. I asked him to explain what the hell he's talking about. He said that his uncle knew my mum because he was a regular customer of her and often hired her for her services. His wife caught them red-handed and immediately filed for divorce. My mum was crying and said that she didn't know he was married. She never asks men about their marital status. I told him that he has no right to speak to my mum like that, and his uncle was fully to blame because he was a married man who was hiring escorts for himself. My mum has no obligation towards his marriage. Javi still blamed me and my mum and said that he felt deceived. He said to my face that he doesn't want to date a tramp's daughter because I will probably invite men just like my mum. My mum had to beg him to not break the engagement. I'm tired. If I do end up marrying him, my mum would always have to suffer because of it. I don't want that. So I gave him his engagement ring and told him to never show his face. My mum is angry because she thinks this is my only chance to get married, because no other guy would marry into a family where the mum works as a sex worker. But I think I did the right thing, because I'm not ashamed of my mum. I didn't even want to hide it in the first place. I wanted to tell him the truth, but my mum refused it. So, am I the a-hole? Edit. I need to clear things out a bit. Javi knows everything about my life. He knows my dad fled the country and we had to live in poverty because of it. He knows my mum got pregnant way too young. I did give him hints that my mum had to do shady things to get by. He probably thought my mum stole things. But I didn't disclose that she was a sex worker. I wanted to tell him, but my mum said not to because she doesn't want this to escalate. Also, I never asked Javi to pay for my brother's education. He did it from the goodwill of his heart. I did promise to pay him back. I'm not after his money. I do love him a lot. Even though we're broken up now, I still miss him. We have been together for 6 years. It's not easy to throw away those 6 years, just like that. Let's look at some comments. Oh, so you are to be a tramp because of your mum. But doesn't that mean he is probably going to use escorts regularly? It runs in his family to be unfaithful according to his logic. Not the a-hole, but boy, your ex sure is. You dodged a bullet getting rid of him. You'll find the right person for you. Give your mum a hug and be happy you aren't marrying into that awful family. Wow, your ex is a major butthole.
Such a big butthole that I'm sure he oozes poop everywhere from how huge his butthole is. Also, not the a-hole. Your mother sacrificed herself to survive and take care of her children. If your now ex can't understand that, have no compassion for the woman he knows, and after learning what really happened, decided to blame her for the attitude of his disgusting uncle, then he is not a real man. Your mother is a queen, and she shouldn't be ashamed of that because your genitor put her through and forced to give up her own happiness in the corner to take care of her children. Now, this is X rather asking you questions and wanting to know your side of the story, decides to take the side of his family and condemn you automatically. Even worse, he proclaimed false accusations and insulted you and your mother. He showed no heart or intelligence, just his true face, so believe him. Your mother is scared for you, but this guy is not the one for you, and he proved it. You deserve someone who will respect, care, understand, love, and have heart for those who suffer, and don't judge so easily on others' lives. Now, I encourage your mother to go into therapy, and to not let her past put a shadow on her present and future. When she'll be in the process of healing, she should share her story, because I can't tell you how many women need to see how a woman and mother has strength in adversity. Writing her experience and telling her story will be a slap in the face of all the pain and suffering. Okay, let's go straight to the update. Hi everyone, I wanted to say thank you so much for your support. I never thought I would get so much support from strangers than people from my own community. I was, however, expecting a lot of hate towards my mum, considering her profession, but it is less than what I expected. I don't know if this qualifies as a proper update, but there have been a few changes. After I broke the engagement, I've been getting calls from my friends and Javi's family that I'm making a huge mistake. My close friends know that my mum used to be a sex worker, but mutual friends of mine and Javi do not know about it. So they're also questioning me if I ever did that. Javi did apologise. He said he got carried away by his emotions and he loves me. Not gonna lie, I love him too. I wanted to get past all of this. I know people have told me that I should not get married to this guy, but I was weak for a moment, until he told me that he is willing to let things go and start anew if my mum does not attend any wedding functions. I was shocked. Weddings are a big deal in our culture. There are many functions and parties surrounding the wedding. How can he ask that I do not involve my mum? He told me that because of my mum's past, it would be difficult for his family members to be around her. He convinced his mum with difficulty about this engagement. Also, since his uncle is going to be there, it will only remind him of bad things. At that moment, I realised that I was never a consideration. It was always him and making his family happy. My family is beneath them because we're not from a respectable background and come from homes of sex workers. I stood firm and told him, no, it's not going to happen. I will not give in to their demands because the way I see it, my mum did not do anything wrong. It's funny how quickly people judge a woman based on her work, that she had to do to feed her kids, but no one will come forward to help her in time of her need. Javi threatened that I'm making a huge mistake by letting him go. I just left. I do not have the energy to deal with it. I think this news is spreading like wildfire now. I may have to move out of the city, because if this news reaches to my workplace, I know damn well people will ostracize me, so I might look for a job in a different area. Lastly, I messaged him saying I'm sorry for not telling him earlier about my mum, but I loved him a lot. I'm sad that he chose this topic to ruin a 6-year-old relationship. I'll be going to the bank and pay back the money he paid for my brother's education. I'm still crying and jilted to say the least. Also, I saw that my post was shared in different religious groups bashing my mum, saying that I deserved it. Well, let me tell you religious fanatics that most men who claim to be religious are not at all. My mum had many clients who claimed to be religious, including pastors and preachers. So please, before blaming my mum, look inside your house and your family. You might find chameleons hiding within your family too. Alrighty folks, that's the end of that story. Let me know what you think of it in the comments. It is sad to hear how judgmental people can be, especially when it comes to things in the past, but I kind of expect it at this point. It's almost human nature. I'm glad OP got out of there though. She deserves a partner that puts her first and considers her feelings. Either way, let me know what you guys think and we'll jump to our last story. Okay, this one was posted on the same subreddit again. It was written by user Go-Kart Injuries and it's titled, Am I the a-hole for throwing out my son's go-kart after he hit his sister with it? My husband and I have 4 kids, 2 boys and 2 girls. For Christmas, we got our younger 2, 8 female and 10 male, these kids' electric ride-on scooters, and our oldest son, 14, got a go-kart. We told my kids that they need to be careful of pedestrians and other riders, and that if they hit someone or something, their scooters and go-kart will be taken away, and if they broke anything, they'd have to work to pay back what they broke. 2 weeks ago, we took the kids to the park to ride their scooters and go-kart, and my oldest son challenged the younger two to a race. My oldest daughter, 16, had to walk across the park to get water, and when she was halfway there, my oldest son hit her going full speed, around 15 miles per hour. My daughter broke a total of 8 bones in her leg and foot and got a concussion. On top of the broken bones and head injury, her phone and watch were both broken. Once we got home from the hospital 4 days later, I listed my son's go-kart for sale and told him he has to get a job to pay for his sister's new phone and watch. He thinks I'm being unfair because I already sold the go-kart and I knew this could happen when I bought it for him. Then tried to blame it on her because she wasn't paying attention. She was on her phone when she was walking. But I told him it doesn't matter. He knew these were the rules when he got the go-kart, and it's his responsibility to make sure he doesn't hurt anyone on it. My husband thinks we're being too rough on him and says we shouldn't make him pay for anything, or only make him pay for her watch, $500. I say no. He knew he'd have to pay for broken property when he got the go-kart, and he chose not to be careful, so he can get a job this summer and pay the $1,500 like he was originally told. My husband thinks I'm being too hard and just trying to get back at him for hurting his sister, but I said if it was anyone else, they'd be responsible for broken property and medical bills, so this is very fair. We can't come to an agreement, so I wanted to know if I was the jerk. Wow, making a child responsible for their actions? Yeah, definitely not the a-hole from me. Let's look at some comments. Not the a-hole. Love that one of his reasons why it's unfair is you knew this could happen. Mum, you know I'm irresponsible, so really it's on you for trusting me. Not the a-hole. When I was 4 or 5 years old, my neighbour's son accidentally ran me over with his four-wheeler. His parents set it on fire in their backyard that night as a lesson. At least you sold yours. Edit to add, this happened in the late 80s in a rural farm town. It was different then. Not the a-hole. I'm glad that your daughter wasn't more seriously injured, because she could have been. If that had been anybody else, you'd be looking at more than just a doctor's bill and replacing a phone and watch. It almost sounds like he purposefully hit her. Regardless of whether she was on her phone, he was operating a vehicle that had the ability to miss her, but that's not what happened. Blaming the victim isn't going to get very far if he tries the same excuse while driving a car. Vehicular assault would be the least of his worries. Losing his license and insurance, jail time, restitution and or being sued. He accepted your terms of use when you bought him the go-kart. If he can't operate a go-kart safely, I shudder to think of him being on the road in a car. Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that comment. This kid is realistically only about 2 or 3 years away from operating a motor vehicle on the road. This sounds like a pretty good opportunity for him to maybe learn from his mistakes. Either way, let me know what you guys think about this one. Am I the a-hole for wearing a wedding dress at a wedding? So my friend, 20 female, and I, 19 male, have been friends for a few years, and she recently got engaged. A week ago, I got a DM from her for a small costume party she was hosting as a celebration for her getting engaged. I asked if there was a theme, and she said there wasn't. I'm a cosplayer, so I had a lot of choices. I didn't want to rock up at an anime cosplay, so I thought it would be funny to go to an engagement party as the corpse bride. I arrived at her house yesterday, and everything seemed normal. A few people complimented my costume, and I was having a lot of fun. After 10 minutes, my friend's fiancé walked out in a black tuxedo and announced this was actually their wedding. Apparently my friend saw a video of someone doing this and wanted to do the same. He asked us all to go to the backyard for the ceremony to begin. I went straight to him. I asked him if I should quickly go home and change my outfit, and that I would get back before it started. He told me it was fine since I didn't know this was the wedding. I trusted him and followed everyone outside. They got married and everything seemed good. The reception was just in their house again, so everyone just walked back inside and picked up where they left off. I tried talking to my friend and celebrating with her, but she kept making excuses to not talk to me. I assumed it was just because she was tired from the big day and wanted some alone time. I didn't bother her after that and the party soon ended. I got home and half an hour passed when my phone started getting notifications. I checked, and it was my friend texting me. She was cussing me out and telling me how I ruined her wedding. I was really confused and asked what I did. That only made her more angry. She told me it was basic knowledge not to wear a wedding dress to a wedding. I reminded her I had no idea it was a wedding and that I asked her now husband if I should change, and he said it was fine. She didn't respond, but I got a text from her husband. He asked why I would tell her he said it was fine. I told him he said it was fine. Then he said how I should have changed anyways, and it's my fault that the two are now fighting over this. I've tried texting her that I was sorry, and if I'd known I wouldn't have done it. I woke up today and saw her and her husband have blocked me on everything. So, am I the a-hole for not changing out of the wedding dress when I found out it was actually a wedding? Let's go to the comments. Not the a-hole. The facts of this are pretty simple. 1. You were told this is a costume party, so you wore a costume. 2. When asked about a theme, you were not given any restrictions. 3. They sprung a surprise wedding on you. And 4. Once you realised this, you asked the groom if you should go home and change, and the groom said no. They had multiple chances to get you to change, and they didn't take any of them, so getting mad with you after the fact doesn't make any sense. So you get invited to a costume party and show up in a costume of the corpse bride. Suddenly this costume party is a surprise wedding. Seeing a potential issue, you go up to the groom and ask him if you should change. This chuckle freak says it's fine and you believe him, because why would he lie? Wedding happens, you get crap for what you were explicitly told was fine, groom backpedals to try to cover up his stupidity, both him and your friend block you, now you have 2 fewer idiots in your life to deal with. Not the a-hole. Sorry you got caught up in this mess, OP. OP, you might want to fix the custom party typo, because it seems like people aren't realising you wore a costume to a costume party. You were told it was a costume party for an engagement celebration. Choosing a corpse bride costume makes sense. You gave the groom a chance to tell you if you needed to change when you found out it was a surprise wedding. It's not your fault he chose to throw you under the bus when the bride got upset. You did nothing wrong. Not the a-hole. Yeah, hard to disagree with those comments there. Let me know what you guys think about this one. Alright, let's go to the update. I honestly didn't think this would get as much attention as it did, and I've tried reading through all the comments, but damn, there were a lot. I do appreciate everyone's feedback. Also, I'm not sharing photos, sorry, just for privacy reasons. Now the update. Since they blocked me on everything, I didn't try to reach out since it would be a waste of effort, but I didn't block them back. If they wanted to talk, I was fine with it. 2 days ago, I was unblocked by my friend. She asked if we could call and talk about what happened, and I agreed. She apologised for blowing up at me like she did, but also told me she was still upset. I was only made aware because of the comments, and now her, that wearing wedding attire to anything wedding related is common sense. All I knew was the no white on the wedding day. Honestly, after people informed me, I felt awful and downright stupid, so I apologised back for not running it through her like I should have since I didn't know. I know lots of people were telling me to cut her off, but I've known her since I was 14, so I'm glad we can stay friends. Her husband, on the other hand, he had told her that he came up to me and asked me to change, and apparently I told him it didn't matter because I was already there, or something along those lines. She was crying a lot while telling me. After she blew up at me, and I told her the real story, she got ticked at her husband. The husband suggested both of them block me so the fight would stop. She agreed to it but was still upset by it all. Eventually she started asking people who were at the wedding to see what happened. 3 people saw me walk up to him and heard me ask. This is where she learned her husband lied to her. Again, a huge fight between the two. Turns out he's hated me since I met them 5 years ago. They had already been dating for a year beforehand. I became good friends with her, but not him. He felt as though I was trying to take his girlfriend. I don't know what I did to make him feel this way. She's beautiful, but I'd never do that crap to anyone. I don't know why he'd wait 5 years, but he decided the day of his wedding was the best time to get rid of me. I'm not really sure what's going to happen to them in the future. She's staying at another friend's house until her and her husband are able to talk about it. I doubt I'll update anymore, like, update they're getting divorced, because that feels insensitive. Again, thanks to everyone for all the advice and points of views. It helped me so much. Have a good day or night. Edit. My friend is doing a lot better and plans to talk to her husband soon. I've also shown her my post, since I felt like she had a right to know. While some comments made her quite upset, because she knows she overreacted. My friend's emotions are always intense, but she tries her best to keep them under control. She's seen people talk about the red flags in her husband, but isn't sure what to do. She told me she'll decide based on what he does when they talk about it. I'll support her no matter what she decides. Even if he rubs me the wrong way and I have my own opinion on what she should do, it's up to her. She's an amazing person and I just want her to be happy. Okay, let's go to the new update. My friend has told me I can post this if I wanted to, and I thought why not? My friend did try to work things out with her husband, but she started getting fed up of how he treated her. They had gone to a restaurant for a date, had an argument, and he told her she had to walk home at 8 p.m. It was a half-hour walk. Instead of going back to hers, she called up a friend. It was her final straw. She decided to apply for annulment, and they've broken up. Her ex tried to convince her to think about it more. He's once again blaming me and her friends for putting crazy ideas in her brain. Safe to say, we've all blocked him. She's been upset over it all, but she's also excited to experience single life. She's been dating him since they were 14, so she's never had certain experiences. She told us she wasn't even sure if she'd ever loved him like she thought she did. It's all been quite a lot. I feel like we've become better friends because of all of this. She's been able to go clubbing with us and has gone home with some people. The legal age for drinking here is 18. I feel like she's actually getting to live out her young adult life without feeling tied down. We have been looking out for her since she doesn't know how certain things and making sure she isn't reckless. If she gets really drunk, we make sure we don't take our eyes off her. She looks way more alive, figuring out who she really is, and I couldn't be more proud of her. She's also been planning another party as a celebration to her new future. She's asked me to help make her into Emily from The Corpse Bride so we can both go as it for this party. This time I'll definitely be getting loads of photos. I won't post them though for privacy reasons again. I'll probably just go back to being a Reddit lurker. Thank you to everyone who has given me advice and helped me out when I first posted about all of this. Alrighty folks, so that's the end of that story. Let me know what you think of it in the comments. This is one of those stories where I read the title, make my own opinion, and then by the time I finish reading the story, I've got a completely different mindset. Either way, let me know what you think and we'll go to our next story. Alrighty, we're going to stay with the same subreddit. This one was written by a now deleted account. It's titled, Am I the a-hole for calling my roommate's family a bunch of misogynists and asking her to move out? Throwaway because roommate knows about my main. I, 26 female, am an assistant loco pilot, a train driver in layman's terms. If you haven't already guessed, it's an extremely male-dominated position, with women not being recruited for the job until around 20 years ago. It wasn't my dream job. It was my father's job that I was offered by the railways after his accident in the line of duty, and I had to take over for my family as the breadwinner. On to the point. I live in a city away from home, so I rent a flat with a younger woman who is studying. She studies for late hours, so she doesn't have a problem with my crazy schedules, as I have a ton of night duties that don't follow any shift system. I do pay more rent because she's a student, and I sort of inconvenience her with my schedule. However, recently after her family visited her and went back, she started being cold towards me. When I confronted her about it, she said her mother didn't like the way I behave, and that I'm practically a man. The way I behave is wear a shirt and trousers pair, that's the uniform for it in case it wasn't clear, to work, and work on small electric projects during my leisure time. That's something my father and I used to do when I was younger, and it's a memory I hold of him. According to my roommate's mum, having such a job, dressing up like a man, working on man stuff, her words not mine, practically makes me a man, and that my roommate should be wary of me, and the next thing I might start doing is drinking until late and having rowdy alcohol parties with my work buddies at the flat we share. Even if it isn't my dream job, I take it seriously because I have 2 younger siblings, my mum, and my grandparents to support. It's not obvious, but the job gives a lot of mental and physical stress. I said if that's the problem for her, maybe roommate should be moving out of the flat to make her misogynistic family happy. The only reason we got the flat to rent is because I'm a government employee and I pay more share of the rent in compensation for the inconveniences. My roommate then called me an a-hole and other profanities because she can't find a place so soon as she's a student, and it's unfair of me to ask her to move out because of her old-fashioned family. Edit for info, since I saw a couple of questions. I work in the Indian Railways. The Indian Railways is a central government organisation. It has a scheme for the employees to offer their spouses a pension or offer their eldest child a job when the employee dies before their retirement or gets unfit to work. In case of the eldest child taking the job, if the child is an adult, they are given training immediately while being paid a stipend. If the child isn't an adult, the spouse is given a pension until the child gets old enough to take on the job. Wow, that's an interesting system. I've never heard of that before. It sounds like a great idea, but I'm sure there's plenty of cons to it as well, as with anything. Anyway, let's look at the comments. Not the a-hole. Def, get rid of her. If she acted cold towards you when she got back, that means she agrees with her family's views, and you do not need that toxic and negativity in your life. First of all, mad respect for taking the responsibility for your family, and to persevere in an environment that might not always be particularly comfortable and friendly towards you. Good on you, love. You're an inspiration and a role model for all of us. Not the a-hole, obviously. Let her leave. Her family left your relationship permanently damaged. Not the a-hole. Send her on the next train out of town. Woo woo. Not the a-hole. In 2023, really? What the heck? Be wary of what exactly? This statement also feels like masked homophobia as well. Masculine woman, lesbian, predator thought process. Your roommate and her family need to mind their own business because you're literally only over there doing nothing to harm anyone. And why would she suddenly assume this is a thing, or would be, if it's literally never been an issue before? Asking her to move out is reasonable in my opinion, because I have a sense their behaviour and how it molds her opinions of you and actions towards you will escalate. Yeah, I agree with this comment. The opinion's not going to change now. Let me know what you guys think about this one. Let's go to the update. I've read the comments on my post, and while most were supportive, thank you all for that, I've seen some suggestions my roommate possibly might be having problems within her family. I have to admit, I haven't given a thought in that direction. I'm privileged enough to come from a family that doesn't believe in gender norms, so my mind didn't go in that direction. Also, some of you suggested roommate's father could have been abusive towards her mother or her. Considering all of that, I decided to have a talk with her. Thankfully, her father isn't an alcoholic or abusive, but it became very apparent to me that her parents, especially her mother, is extremely controlling. If anyone doesn't know, breaking out of a mother's control, especially as a daughter, is very difficult. When I sat her down and talked with her, she apologised for the profanities and behaving the way she did. As it happens, her mother all but warned her to not get close to me, because of which she stopped interacting with me completely. I told her I understand, and that I was there for her. I told her that I would have understood if she'd told me what happened. She replied by saying that she didn't really know what to do, or what to say to me or to her mother. While I said we've resolved this, and she really doesn't have to move out, she said she thinks that her moving out is actually a good idea, because she feels she peed her mother off more if she continues to share with me. Meanwhile, since a couple of people suggested that I move to the railway quarters, I looked into that. I plan on shifting my mother and my grandparents here because it would be easier for my mother if she stays with me, since one of my younger siblings is already staying in their university hostel, and the other would be leaving for their university in August and September. I definitely cannot house my mother and grandparents in the current flat. One of my dad's old friends who still works with me kindly agreed to look into it, and see if he can speed up the process due to his connections. I told my roommate if the processing and paperwork goes through, I will move into the quarters in September, and since their new semester starts in September, she can find a new roommate who is more acceptable to her parents and keep the place. I also told her that if she decides to stand up to her mother, I will be by her side and support her, no questions asked. P.S. People from other countries, please don't start saying that me getting my dad's old job is fake or my culture is unfortunate because it expects me to take care of my family. Every country operates differently, and due to different societal situations, we have laws and policies that might seem strange to you, and every culture has different ways of doing things, and I think this is one of the very nice things about mine. I would have taken care of my parents and grandparents anyway, even if my father hadn't been in the accident and lived to see his retirement.
Okay folks, so that's the end of that one. A pretty good compromise, I think. It sounds like Opie's got it all figured out here. Alright, let's jump to the final story for today. It's on the same subreddit. It was written by user HousingIssues7 and it's titled, "Am I the a-hole for expecting my boyfriend to pay rent if he moves in with me?" This is a doozy. I've been dating Josh for a year. I should say now that I, 24 female, don't ever want to be legally married, and Josh, 30 male, is divorced and doesn't want to remarry. We also live in a place where there is no common law marriage. Still, we want to take things a bit further, and we're talking about Josh and his 2 daughters moving in with me. I own a 3-bed, 2-bath house in a nice area. Josh rents a 2-bed, 1-bath apartment, and his lease is coming up. My mortgage is $1,000 a month, and Josh's rent is $1.4K a month. It was important to me that we would have everything figured out before making the change, so that there would be no surprises or disagreements about who pays what. I figured it would be unreasonable for Josh to expect to just live with me for free, especially since I'd be giving up one of my rooms so his daughters could have a room. I suggested that Josh pay $700 a month to me in rent, half of what he is currently paying. I would cover the cost of any home repairs, internet, garbage, etc. Then we would split utilities. Even though there's 3 of them and 1 of me, I don't mind splitting since that would be about what I'm currently paying, I predict. And since I meal prep once a week, I would just get my own groceries and he could get theirs. When I laid everything out, Josh was very unhappy and said since it's my house, he shouldn't have to pay rent and that we should split groceries. I told him he was welcome to buy his own house and I would move in with him and happily pay rent, while renting out my own house. He was mad at me because he said he's not in a position where he can buy a house. We can't come to an agreement, so I suggested he just find another apartment. The owners aren't letting him renew, and we could revisit the topic in a year. He's not happy with that either because rent prices have skyrocketed here, and 2 bedrooms now go for around $1.8K a month, and he thinks he won't be able to find a place he can afford. I'm a bit frustrated because I feel like $700 a month is a really good deal compared to the likely $1,800 he'll have to pay. Since we aren't going to get married or anything, I don't understand why he thinks I'd be okay with him living for free with his 2 kids. I'm happy to have romance and companionship, but shared assets and finances are not something I want in life. I don't want to support a man. Am I the a-hole for expecting my boyfriend to pay rent? Wow, definitely not the a-hole. Yeah, $700 is a pretty good deal for a month. I don't understand why he's getting worked up over this. Did he just, expect a free ride or something? Anyway, let's look at the comments. Not the a-hole. Your solution is perfectly reasonable. If he doesn't like your rental price, he's free to find his own home. Unless he's just been dating you so he could eventually move in and his daughters in and pay no rent. Not the a-hole. And this is a massive red flag. He's expecting you to subsidize his and his kids' lives. Don't do it. And if you do end up figuring something out, please make him sign a lease. Opie adds an edit. I showed Josh this post and he thinks you're all wrong. So here's some input from him. Leslie makes $120K a year and I make $30K a year. I'm living paycheck to paycheck supporting 2 kids with no help from my ex-wife. It's gotten so expensive here that at this rate, I'm not even going to be able to feed my kids soon without going to the food bank. No matter what, they're going to get fed. But it's not fair that she owns a house and can go on vacations and spend $400 a month getting her hair done when I can't even buy my kids name brand cereal. She shouldn't charge me to live with her because she should understand that I want to be able to spend whatever I can giving my kids the childhood that they deserve. Not for me, but for them. And 2 hours later, an update from OP. Thanks Reddit. Owe you one and I'm glad I posted here. After a very loud and angry argument with Josh, I broke up with him. Despite pretty much everyone telling him he was wrong, Josh insisted that I should basically support the 3 of them because it's what will be best for his kids. He doesn't seem to understand that they aren't my kids, and no one is going to want to bankroll the 3 of them, at least no one with a brain. The point is, I'm young, good looking, I own a house, I can do better than a broke single dad who has no education and a crappy job who thinks it's okay to mooch off me and scream in my face when I tell him no. Hope your next girlfriend is stupid enough to put up with you, Josh. No wonder your ex-wife left. Am I the a-hole for not inviting my cousin to my wedding? Hello Reddit. I'm 23 female and I'm getting married this May to my long-term boyfriend, 27 male. We've been waiting to get married for about a year since we've been saving up our finances to move out, and now is the perfect time to start the process of getting married. I'm very excited. We have told our intermediate families so far, and they are all ecstatic for us and support us 100%. However, there is just one problem. I have a cousin, 25 female, who has bullied me my entire life. I do not want said cousin at my wedding. Growing up, she made my life a living hell. She never missed a chance to make fun of me, and she used to physically bully me as well. I remember times she would make up scenarios and would tell me people from school called me ugly, fat, and a tramp just to make me upset and feel insecure about myself. At one point, she even admitted she was jealous of me. These days, I feel like we're only civil because our mums are very close. Her mum is my mum's sister. This peace helps our family stick together, and there's been no major incidents since then. To this day, she still makes snide remarks or backhanded comments to me. I've come to realise that putting up with that toxic behaviour is unhealthy, and this is my wedding day. I deserve to feel happy. I decided that I don't want to invite her to something that is supposed to be one of the happiest days of my life. She doesn't deserve to be a part of my happiness. I told my mother this, and she was upset. She thinks if I invite my aunt's family and exclude said cousin, my aunt will be very upset and it will cause a whole family fight. My mum also said it would trigger her anxieties and make her feel uncomfortable at my own wedding. I told her if my aunt doesn't want to come because my cousin is uninvited, I would have no hard feelings towards her, and I completely understand. This wasn't enough for my mum, and she was still upset at my response. She doesn't think it's worth not inviting my cousin for one day, and that it would cause a lifetime of conflict. My fiancé thinks I'm in the right, and he personally doesn't want her at the wedding because of how she treated me in the past. He said it's our day, and we can choose who we want at our wedding. I still feel like I might be the a-hole for potentially causing drama, just because of not wanting to invite my cousin. So Reddit, am I the a-hole? I mean, I understand the reason that you don't want to cause drama behind it, but definitely not the a-hole. Like you said, it's your wedding. Let's see what the comments think. Not the a-hole. Groups you should invite to your wedding. People you actually like. That is all. So you can't upset your aunt, but it's okay if you're unhappy and miserable at every family event because your mum wouldn't protect you from your bully? She let you be bullied for years because she doesn't like conflict? She doesn't seem to mind it with you. She can't be anxious at your wedding, but it's okay if you are? Not the a-hole. Your mum definitely is. Not the a-hole. Here's another way of putting it. Would you actively invite this one person who's been a miserable steaming pile of garbage her whole life, and a cloud over your head for many years, to one of the most important days of your life? Frick no you wouldn't, and you certainly wouldn't feel bad about it either. And if your mum is close to her mum, I'm guessing she knows about her crap of a niece. I'd be a little annoyed my mother would defend her in any way, shape or form. They'll know damn well why she's not invited, and if that ruffles some feathers, so be it. F 'em. She's only a cousin, not exactly immediate family or likely someone you would have wanted to go visit regardless. Yeah, 100%. What is all that business about anxiety? As if not inviting the cousin will trigger the anxiety of the aunt. What the hell is that? Sounds like a bit of a cop-out argument to me. Anyway, Opie answers some questions in the comments. Does your mum know the extent? Does your aunt? My mum and aunt knew. My aunt tried punishing her every time my cousin did something growing up. My mum knew about the bullying issue too, and left my grandma's when my cousin would start in. The last time we got into an issue was a few years ago, a month after my grandpa passed away. I was on a family trip with the whole extended family, and my cousin made up a story that this random guy called me fat, and tried to put the blame on her younger sister and another distant cousin for overhearing it, and telling said cousin about it. Word got around, my aunt found out and told the both of us to cut the crap and make up because we're family and need to stick together, even though I didn't do anything wrong. Someone suggests high security at the wedding. I'm going to bring that up to my fiancé. This isn't going to be a huge wedding. We plan on eloping and then having a small brunch with family and friends. I would love security, but I'm not sure how much it will cost, since we aren't trying to spend too much money on the celebration. More about the family. My family is big on sticking together. I think they would see me as petty for doing something like that. Meanwhile, they'd turn a blind eye on what my cousin used to do to me. My grandma, the queen bee of the family, may the Lord rest her soul, was really the only one who put my cousin in her place. She would tell me she's a jealous bee and to not listen to a word she says. Okay, now on to the update. Hello again, Reddit. I just want to come back on here to give you guys an update. First and foremost, before I go to the update, I just want to thank you all for your helpful advice. It really helped me and my fiance get a clearer perspective on what to do. Now for the update. My fiance and I decided to just have a basic elopement. No celebration, no after dinner, nothing. We might go on a honeymoon afterwards. We aren't sure where to go, but I'm sure it'll be fun with no drama. We also decided to postpone the date of our elopement for a later date. As of the conversation with my mother, a couple days after I posted the original Reddit post, I talked to my mother. I told her I'm not having my cousin at my wedding. I don't care that she'll be upset. It's my day and I say who goes and who doesn't. After I told her, she just sat there in silence. When I mentioned everything my cousin did to me in the past and told her that she did nothing about it, she got defensive. She said she tried everything that she could, but I really don't believe that. A couple days ago, I went on a hike with my father. Parents are divorced, and I told him the situation briefly. He decided to give me the full rundown about my mother's family, which was a very long conversation. He did not hold back. To no surprise, my father said throughout the marriage with my mother, she always chose her siblings and mother over my father and her children. There was no boundaries on my mother's side. Everyone was in everyone's business. He told me about the bullying I received from my cousin from his perspective. To be more specific, it started when I was 1 year old. My cousin at the time was 3. How did he find out? When my parents were still living with my grandma, Mum's mum, my cousin asked my dad to allow her to go upstairs with me in my bedroom alone. My dad didn't know about anything at this point, so he allowed it. My mother then started getting hysterical, and my grandmother told my father that it wouldn't be a good idea for that to happen. He then asks, why? She's only 3 years old. My grandmother told him that my cousin would hit me and be violent towards me. They said it was going on for months. The reason why they did not tell my father was that I wouldn't remember it and that they were just kids. My father was furious and tried to do everything in his power to protect me and my younger brother. Since my brother was a newborn at this time, my father did not know if they would go to him next. Throughout the years, my brother didn't receive as much bullying as I did. The lack of discipline that my aunt's kids received when I was a kid made it easier for my cousin to be nasty to me. My aunt didn't do anything from what I heard, and my mother didn't do anything. My cousin also told my father that she hated me, and she hated my existence when she was 5. My father's theory on why my cousin was so hateful towards me was because she was the first granddaughter to be born for a while, since my older 2 cousins are 20 years older than us, since my other aunt, not cousin's mum, had them as a teenager. Right after my cousin was born, her brother was born, and then it was me. My aunt and my mother tried to make us like twins, same outfits, same everything. My cousin did not like that because she wanted all the attention to herself, which caused her to start bullying me at a very young age. Any chance my mum would get, she would bring me and my brother to her side of the family. It didn't matter where we were at. I never really got to know my father's side of the family that well from that. The part that hurt me the most was not really knowing my dad's mum. My mother would always limit contact with her on purpose, because my mum didn't like that there was other influences in my life that wasn't her family. It hurt so much because all the times I remember my grandma, she was always teaching me how to fight and to defend myself against my cousin. She taught me to always hold my ground. I knew she loved me with all her heart, and I loved her too. I wish I had a better relationship with her. There was other things that my father mentioned about the family which I'm not going to go too deep into because it's irrelevant. The main message I got from all of this is to not break my boundaries and to stay away from her and the rest of my mother's family because they will turn on me. He told me it's not worth fighting my mother about these things because she is delusional and she will always take the side of her siblings instead of her children. In my father's words, she essentially made me and my brother as sacrificial lambs for the sake of the relationship with her family instead of protecting her children. I'm going to keep my distance from my family and keep working hard to save my money so I can move out from my mother's house. I understand now that I cannot be around my mother's side of the family at all. It would be a very unhealthy environment for my future children and husband. I don't want to make the same mistakes my mother made. I want to be the best role model my family could have. So that's basically it with the update. I'll update more if there's anything else to update. I just wanted to thank you guys again for giving me the best advice to follow and keeping up with my story. Thank you. Wow, so there you go, that's the end of that one, guys. Let me know what you think of it in the comments. Personally, I probably would have done the same thing if I was OP. Yeah, you would never invite that cousin to your wedding, of all places. But it is a little bit sad that she's kind of fallen out with her mum's family like that. I guess there was a reason her father left her mum. Either way, a pretty good ending, I think. Let me know what you guys think and we'll jump to our next story. Okay, we're going to stay on the same subreddit. This one was written by Humble Newspaper 803 and it's titled, Am I the a-hole for disinviting my sick grandmother from my wedding? I imagine I'll likely be verbally eviscerated by the internet masses, but I do have some explanation. My grandmother is my only living grandparent, and she's my hero. When I was a kid, she beat stage 4 lung cancer, and when I had my own, less severe diagnosis of cancer, she was there for me, even more than my parents. I hope people believe me when I say, this decision to exclude her from my wedding is not one made lightly. However, I genuinely think it to be for the best. My fiancé and I are getting married in about 8 months, been engaged for close to 3 years. We hadn't intended for such a long engagement, but it's where the dice fell. Initially, when planning the wedding, I absolutely wanted my grandmother there and sent her an invite, but about a year ago she had a massive stroke. Edit to add, to make this absolutely clear, everything was planned and booked before she had the stroke. She's 90 years old and the family was kind of astonished she even made it. However, she's been in really bad shape since then. On her good day, she still needs a walker to get around, though oftentimes requires a wheelchair. Unfortunately, our wedding takes place in an old historical location that is not wheelchair friendly. The ceremony space is quite a walk across a field from the reception area. All in all, not very suitable for my grandmother in her current state. I tried to see if we could move the venue, but the wedding was already paid off, and the contract states we can't get a refund if we choose to cancel, so moving locations would be out $20,000. We're paying for the wedding ourselves, and scraped together every dime we had to pay for it, so this isn't a hit we can financially bear. It broke my heart immensely coming to the realization my grandmother couldn't be there, especially worrying if she tried to push herself, it could harm her health further, and she refuses to accept it. She insists she'll make it there with her walker, but she can't even get through a grocery store trip, let alone an all-day event. I suggested we have someone in front for the ceremony video call her, or have us get married at a courthouse beforehand, so she could be there for the actual marriage, and still use the wedding as more of a celebration party. Heck, I would have been willing to get married in the dank parking lot. However, she's the type of stubborn and headstrong person to refuse to accept her limitations, was practically offended I would entertain the idea of ruining my own wedding, or suggest she is less than capable of being there in person, and is now very upset with me now that I've said that if she refuses all of my compromises, then it may be for the best she not attend. Family members are equally angry with me for crushing her hopes to see me get married, and have been giving me loads of crap, even though they're well aware of her condition and agree it would be virtually impossible to have her be there. The only one on my side is my fiancé, which has me wondering if I really am the jerk for not letting her try to attend, despite knowing it likely won't end well. Am I the a-hole? This is a bit of a tricky one, to be honest. I completely understand the fear of your grandma dropping dead at your own wedding. That's honestly not ideal. But, at the end of the day, she's an adult, and if you want her at your wedding, because obviously Opie does, then, it's up to her to make the decision whether or not she can go. I'm sure there's, precautions and stuff you can take to make it very comfortable for her, and so she's not moving around too much and things like that. Surely this can be worked out and negotiated. Anyway, let's see what the comments think. You're the a-hole. This is dark as frick. She's an adult. Why are you not letting her make her own choices? Disinviting someone is a huge deal and is usually reserved for when someone does something particularly egregious. You're the a-hole. I bet there are several strong and healthy groomsmen and or guests coming. How much does your grandma weigh? My mama was a whopping 92 pounds when she died. Even if grandma is twice that, they can still carry her to the non-refundable and difficult historical location that's across a field that you purposefully chose and booked and paid for. She doesn't have to struggle with a walker, and who cares if it's a wheelchair accessible? If you wanted to, you could make it work. But grandma seems very much like an afterthought during planning and now. Well, heck, she is so old she may not even make it 8 more months. Then you can luck out and not even worry about it. Okay, so before my granddad passed away, I was essentially his personal assistant. Like your grandmother, he had a cane but also a wheelchair, and I'd wheel him around everywhere. So I say this from experience. Most historical sites do make accommodations for elderly or disabled people. Please, please, please talk to the venue and get them to set something up. If there's stairs, chances are they have collapsible ramps. If there's a long stretch of grass, I can assure you they have some form of transport across it. And if they don't, get 2 wood planks and wheel her over those. I won't pass a judgment. What I will say that you need to talk to tell your venue and tell them you have disabled guests and you need to talk about the accommodations they have. Yeah, absolutely with these comments. Let's jump to an edit OP made. I'll answer some frequently asked questions that I've seen so far. She does have a part-time caregiver come by her house a couple of days a week to bring groceries and take her to appointments and stuff like that. However, she's kind of a small lady herself and isn't even available the day of the wedding. We've looked into hiring and renting assistance of any kind, but we've put almost all our money towards the venue, which my parents insisted on, for a centralised location. They've been taking control of the wedding and I don't have the best relationship with them, but that's more than I can get into with the character limit. And it was one of the most affordable. No one in the family has yet to volunteer to help, either physically the day of, or financially, so we're pretty much on our own. My main concern comes from her potentially pushing herself too hard, trying to get around, which has happened after the stroke, and put her health at further risk because she's tried to continue living as she did before the stroke and has been hospitalised for it. Yeah, I'm going to go with a soft "you're the a-hole" for OP here. Like, her reasoning for uninviting her grandma comes out of compassion, but at the end of the day, you kind of just can't do that to someone who's independent. All grandma wants to do is see her granddaughter get married. Like, you can't ultimately deny her of that privilege. What do you guys think? Alright, let's jump to the update. Hi, I wanted to give an update to my previous post. There were a lot of repeat questions and some things I couldn't explain fully due to the character limit, so hopefully I can provide some clarification. I was concerned and initially made the decision to uninvite her because she was insistent on living life just as she did before her stroke and didn't even want a part-time caregiver until an incident at the grocery store that ended with her hospitalised. I didn't want her to be in a similar situation just for me. If she got hurt, or worse, as a result of her overexerting herself at my wedding, I would never forgive myself. I thought I was doing the right thing for her sake, but a lot of the comments gave me some much-needed perspective. A handful of people were convinced I was embarrassed by my grandmother's health issues, worried she would ruin the wedding, or hoped my grandmother would pass away, as my grandmother is fond of saying, even Evel Knievel couldn't make that leap. I will admit part of why I came to the decision was the result of frustration and lack of any sort of help from family. Not just for the wedding, but it feels like they've given up on her altogether. I was at my wit's end with them. I didn't know what else to do. Got massively stressed and overwhelmed. It was taking more of a toll than I realised. I'll likely have a serious talk with certain family members later on. We did look into hiring or renting assistance of any kind, but we've put almost all our money towards the venue, which was chosen by my dad and stepmom. They paid the down payment on our home, and used that to steer the wedding in a direction they want, so they heavily influenced a lot of decisions. At the time it would have worked fine since everything was booked and paid before my grandmother had the stroke. She's my mum's, who isn't in the picture, mother, and was never close to my dad, so my parents aren't willing to provide financial help to get her some assistance. No one from her side wants to help either, so we're on our own. As for the main update, we've found a way for my grandmother to safely attend the wedding. I stated in some comments my grandmother was very active in her community, even leading right up to the stroke. One of her favourite things was reading to kids at a nearby elementary school, and I learned she'd become good friends with one of the custodians who would help her navigate the building and escort her around, a really nice guy in his 40s. I contacted him and explained the situation, and he said he would love to be her dedicated help for the day of the wedding. When he said that, the relief and excitement I felt was indescribable. Of course I went to my grandmother and begged forgiveness and explained the plan for the day. She was happy with the arrangement and said while she understood I had good intentions, if I, quote, try any nonsense like that again, she'd drop dead out of spite. Thank you all for your help and judgment. Oh wow, so there you go guys, good ending all in all. And nice of that guy from the school to help her out on the day of the wedding. I reckon Grandma still has a little bit of pep in her step based on that comment too. But yeah, seems like this drama was kind of unnecessary in the end. Like all OP had to do was just think about it a little bit more and come to a rational decision that, benefits all parties involved. Either way, that's it from me today. Hope you guys enjoyed those stories and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.